This episode is brought to you by Farm Bureau Financial Services, Zach Miller Agency. If you're looking for an insurance agent with a personal touch, someone willing to have the real conversations about what's important to you, assistance with submitting claims, and offering quality coverage options, Farm Bureau Financial Services, Zach Miller Agency may be the place for you. Whether you need home, auto, farm, commercial, life, or health insurance, we're here for you. Check us out at agentzachmiller.com. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agriculture Insurance Company.
My next guest is the owner of Twisted Metal Customs and Upholstery. Henry, thanks for making time to be here today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. I'm pretty excited. I'm Zach Miller with my co-host Cameron Meyer.
How's it going, guys?
Good. And we are touching base with Henry Santos today. You've kind of been a fan of the podcast for quite a while. I think you engage with more of our posts than anybody else. We appreciate that.
I'm a huge fan of podcasts. I just, throughout the day or just whenever, tend to listen to a variety of podcasts. And I've known Cameron for a while. And when he said these were going to start taking on, I decided to hop on and start following and being a local podcast.
It's even better that way.
Yeah.
Just because you see businesses and stuff like that is really cool.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate it because it's a lot of fun doing it, and we like to have a few fans out there. So
That's good.
we always like to get a little background on everybody first. Where are you originally from?
So originally born in El Paso, Texas. I was raised there up until about when I was 7, 8 years old. Moved up here, just me and my grandmother. So really no family in the area, and started having kids and just kind of planted my roots here. And this is home now.
And you moved to Norfolk from El Paso?
Yep.
What brought you to Norfolk?
My mom says it was to get me away from all the troubles that just come with being in an area like El Paso, Texas. I was already kind of starting to get in a little bit of trouble, and I think she had an opportunity to come work in a small town, and she's seen it as a window to maybe try and steer me in a different direction than maybe I would have ended up going down, staying in El Paso.
That's a good path too. I just always wonder. I hear that a lot of people come and I just always think, why Norfolk?
Yeah, like how Norfolk do you just throw a dart and it just lands on Norfolk kind of a thing?
Was it job opportunity? I'm assuming.
I would assume so. She never very clarified that to me. She just one day said she had a job and this is where we were coming. Wow. And when the family kind of started asking, well, where are you going? It's not even on the map. And, well, somewhere in here. Yeah. And we showed up on a bus to the Ramada Inn when it was still up. Yeah. We just kind of made that our home for the first couple weeks. And eventually she got settled in. We found a place. And, yeah, we haven't left.
That's kind of a cool story.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. I didn't know that about you.
Land of opportunity, right?
Exactly.
So since you've been here, how has the city kind of changed in your eyes overall?
Really, it's been growing. At first, this was kind of the last place I wanted to be. I always wanted a way out. And over time, it was always one excuse after another. It's too small. There's not enough things to do. It's too cold. I'm not made for the winter. And I still preach that to the wife. I'm not made for the winter. And it just, I guess now that I have kids, it's grown on me. I still go back to Texas quite a bit. I've Florida and just all over. And seeing those bigger cities, and now that I have my little ones, I'm constantly, nope, hang on to my hand. You guys aren't leaving my sight. So I've come around to like it. It just, nice environment. And I do see what the city's trying to do to try and keep a lot of the younger generations around. So,
having kids kind of opens your eyes a little bit to some of that stuff, huh?
A lot.
Small towns a little better.
The stuff you don't think about.
Yeah.
It's all, like you said, the small things you got to hold on their hand.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I even do that here if we're in a bit, like Walmart or.
Yeah. Don't let you
Hy-Vee.
not get out of my sight.
Yeah.
And you have the same problem because you have twins also.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So,
you have twins too, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. They're both 6 and they're firecrackers. I mean, can't keep them still. They're
boys or girls?
Boys.
Boys.
Yeah. And they're just constantly jumping around and
running, and then you're
Causing
like, you were
ruckus.
supposed to watch this one. Where'd the other one go? You know?
Yeah.
You wonder how they have that much energy, right?
Oh man.
It never ends. It never ends.
You feeding them a little bit of your ghost.
No, that's the last thing they need. No.
That's funny. So did you go to high school here in town then?
So I did. I started at Northern Hills when it was still a school.
Yeah.
And I finished off 5th grade there. And then from there, just went through the transitions of schools, ended up at Norfolk Public, got into some trouble growing up. And so I ended up going to AFS, which is kind of like a separate school, or at least it was a separate school at the time from the high school. And that's kind of where they put all the troubled kids, you know, just to put it in a simple terms.
Yeah.
And
Was that here in town?
it used to be located kind of where Raising Cane's is now.
That's what I thought. So it was kind of behind there in that. There was a building back there. Is that building still there?
Nope, they tore it all down.
That's what I thought.
And AFS now sits just right across from the high school, kind of back by the tennis courts on the back side of the school there.
So that's where it is. Okay.
Yep. And
I always wondered where'd that move to.
no. I happened to be working for UPS for a little time period there, and I happened to stop in for a delivery, and it's a whole different school than it was when I was there.
I'm sure.
Back when I was going through school there, it was kind of just a free range. You show up, there's a couch, a chair, sit wherever you want, do whatever you want, and you know, just stay busy and out of trouble type of deal. Now it seems more structured, more school-like.
Gotcha.
So
Did you still have to were they still teaching you there? Like, was it still like a class structure, or kind of how did that work?
No, so they broke it up into periods, and some kids would choose to go in the morning, others would go in the afternoon. A lot of the kids there either were working or had kids, and so just due to whatever life schedules they had, they picked when they went. You showed up, it was just one big open floor plan, and then computers kind of around. You worked on what you needed credits in, and there was just 2 teachers for a whole building of students.
Wow.
And they just
I had
oversaw
no
it.
idea about that.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it's quite how. I knew it was there, just didn't know quite how it worked.
Yeah.
Did you feel like it was a good experience? I mean, obviously, having 2 teachers, was it a decent experience for you, or was it kind of a hard way to go to get what you needed?
Well, so the teachers were great. They were awesome. But I would have graduated with the class of 07 through the high school. And then through some of my troubles and everything, and then ending up there, I got behind in school, and I wasn't going to meet my graduation year and graduate with my class. That kind of bummed me out. And so I just kind of called it a quits. They kept pushing me to go back, and I said, no, I'm not doing this any longer. I've done school long enough. I was already working, had a place of my own even there towards the end.
Wow.
And so I just dropped out, called it a quits on school. I said, you know, I don't need it. I'm going to go work and just live life. And then, you know, just I think a good year had gone by, and I decided to go sit for my GED. I just kind of told myself, hey, I need to do something. And I ended up going and sitting for my GED. They had me kind of just test out, so I didn't have to do all the courses. They were just trying to see if I could still just pass the test.
Is that something because you're close enough, like within the time frame of being there, that they kind of just, is that kind of how they do that? Okay.
Yep. So I still technically have my high school diploma. I just got it going through the GED class. They had me test out on everything. They said, no, your scores are good. Sit down for the test. If you pass it, you graduate. If not, you're going to have to do the classes and everything. And I sat down, I took the test, and I passed it. And here's your diploma. Congratulations. See you later. And so I just went about my time. Really, it wasn't no real issue or, you know, a hurdle that I had to, it was just something I had to do. That took a little bit of time, but
At least you did it.
yeah.
That's the main part. We're pretty
cool.
close in age then, because I graduated 06.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind
Same
of cool.
here.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were about my age. I had no idea.
Yeah. 07's the class I would have graduated in. And yeah.
That's really cool. So a year in, you got where were you working at that time?
So I started typical. I started working when I was 14 at Hy-Vee, and I just didn't like it. And so then from there, I just kind of bounced around. I worked at Pizza Hut on Benjamin. I worked at KFC for a little while. I even gave runs a try. Fast food wasn't my thing. I ended up working at the Sale Barn for a little bit while they were open. That was a fun job.
That's a big throwback.
It is, yeah. But it was a fun job. I did that for almost a whole year, and then that's when they were starting to cut back on all their sales. And so then from there, I went and worked at Tyson. So I was still kind of going to school at the time. And then at night, I was working at Tyson, back just loading the trailers full of hams. And I didn't want to stay there. I didn't want to make that my job. And so I ended up quitting. And after I quit, I didn't really know what to do. Just kind of bounced around from, like I said, little jobs here and there. And finally, I landed at Envisions, which is a group home for, handicapped kids or whatever that are behavioral. And I told myself, this is a 2-week job. I'm not doing this more than that. I just not that type of person. It was almost 10 years.
Wow.
And I said, I got to do something with my life. And so then I got into school for auto body and just started chasing the restoration path.
Was auto body a thing that you had a passion for before that, or was it kind of like a?
Yeah, no. So I always liked cars, even when I was going through my teenage phase of hanging out with the friends and getting in trouble and whatever. We were always up to modifying cars and trucks and custom sound systems and riding bikes, and so that was always kind of a passion of mine. My dad kind of had a background in some sprint car racing and everything that I kind of knew of as I grew up. And so, yeah, cars just kind of stuck with me. I did teammates when I was in high school, and I got paired up with a great guy, and he was also into cars. That's kind of the link they made between us to pair us up. And he knew I was struggling, and I kind of needed that role model. And so I feel like he went above and beyond, because he was always like, hey, let me ask your mom if I can take you to this car show or whatever. And so he was taking me places outside of the school hours and everything, which is when teammates supposedly meet. And I just always stayed in touch with that car background.
That's really cool. The teammates program is a really cool thing.
Yeah, I've thought about doing it myself.
I have too. I just didn't know if I'd have the time. At least right now, have the time to
It'd be
do
something so good, but
That's my thing. Time. Yeah.
I think it's something that I'll probably end up getting into after my kids have gotten a little older, or maybe even when they're out of the house. Because I'm like, I struggle to have time to give them my time.
Right.
I need my
Exactly.
kids to grow up well first before I can go try to help out more, I think is
Yeah.
kind of where I'm sitting at on that.
it's funny how the car thing really, because I have a 13-year-old kid that helps me with the race car. It's just funny how the cars bring people together like that.
Right.
It's wild. Any age group, doesn't matter.
Yep. No. I mean, you see it all the time if you go to car shows and stuff. I mean, people just randomly start talking to you. Oh man, that car or all that, and you just go from there.
That's really cool. I'm going to take a little sidestep from the cars for just a minute and talk about your family a little bit. So you're married and have just the 2 kids?
Actually, I have 3 kids.
3 kids,
Yeah,
okay.
My oldest is 18 now and out of the house. He's still a senior in high school. Graduates this May. But he moved into his mother's side of the family, to his grandparents' home.
Okay.
Just kind of got to that point in age where he thought it was time to leave home. So,
Wow.
but he's working and doing good in school and chasing sports. And I think he kind of has a life plan figured out for what's next, which
That's
I give
really
him
cool.
props for, because at
So
his
hard at that
age, at his age, I was nowhere near where he's at right now. I always tell him, hey, good job. You made it further than I did. You're going to graduate and you don't have any kids yet. so
It's a good start.
yeah, at least I
right?
pat myself on the back for that one.
That's good.
Yeah.
What sports is he playing?
He's always chased soccer.
Yeah, it's a good sport.
Yeah, never had any interest in doing anything else. He tried wrestling when he was really little. Once it got competitive, he just was like, no, this isn't my thing, which I kind of felt for him there, because at one point or another, I tried wrestling myself, And I get it, it's a sport, but I just felt so awkward just being down on my knees with someone else behind me, you know, and I just couldn't get to get around it. So no, he started doing soccer. I coached his little league for a few years, and then he finally started playing for the school, and now that's all he does is soccer.
It's awesome.
That's cool.
Is he getting looked at by any colleges or anything? Or
We get tons of mail to the house from different colleges that try to send them invites and everything. I don't think he really has anything in mind other than just maybe Northeast.
They've got a good program.
I was gonna say they have a really good program,
and they've had
there.
a lot of kids go through and go up to the next level.
Yeah. No,
So-
I've seen that. Their soccer group's awesome right
Yeah,
now.
Abe's son just did
Oh,
that.
that's what it was. I was like, somebody had something somewhere. I
Yeah,
knew
so
that.
he was playing. They won the national championship.
Yeah.
And now he's moving up to JUCO to a different. Yeah, he's moving up the
Wow.
chain. So
Nice.
That's awesome.
it seems like a good pathway.
Nice little stepping stone there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a decent school, and he gets to stay close to home. And
Yeah.
probably keep the job if he wants to keep the job he's got. And
Yeah.
it's be a good scenario.
Yeah. No, I've tried to encourage him to maybe leave the state for school, go kind of see what the world has to offer, especially not having any kids or nothing tying him down. For a while there, he was considering maybe going into auto body himself. And I said, don't get me wrong, Northeast is awesome. I love the teachers there. But there's IT schools out there, hot rod schools. They're going to teach you things that you're going to come back and be teaching me. Take advantage of it. Go learn. And who
That's
knows?
a good idea.
You might find a partner or something that keeps you from ever wanting to come back.
Yeah.
But I think just family being here, he's just like,
It's too easy.
Yeah, I'm just going to
It's
stick
just a
around.
nice comfort level.
It is. Yeah.
That was a hard decision I had to make, and I in the long run, obviously, I made the right decision because I'm sitting here. But there was a time I wish I would have left for college.
I'm glad I did. I went to Houston, had a good time for the 12 months I was there, had a good time, but I was still wanted to come back here.
Right. I seen that a lot growing up. Everybody's like, oh, I'm leaving this place. And
We all come
they
back.
always end up back here. So at the end of the day, do I wish I would have left? Some days, but at the end of the day, it's like, if I'm going to end up here, might as well.
Right. So how did having kids change your life? Obviously, you said you had one early, right?
Yeah.
Had
Yeah.
him.
So when I had him, that's kind of what, that's kind of what affected some of my decisions there towards the end of my schooling. I didn't want to do school no more. I was working, typical scenario. I was just, this young father, wasn't even with the mom. And so I tried my best to fight for visitations, and eventually I got his custody. And so that was a huge step for me because at that time I had met my wife. We were just dating. And when you're that young, trying to date somebody new and really make a relationship out of it, and then but I have this kid. I didn't see it working out very well, but luckily my wife was a champ, and from the get-go, she's like, all right, so what, and
It's a keeper right there.
yeah, and she helped a ton with him right off the bat. And then we never really talked about having kids right off the bat, me and her. I kind of knew where she stood on the subject, and she knew where I was at with it. But life happens. We got married and we had the kids. We were both riding motorcycles before the kids, and I was always out hunting or golfing or whatever. We were always on the move. And then we had the kids, and the bikes went away, and the hunting went away, and it's like,
Got to wait a few years and it all comes back.
Yeah.
yeah, no,
It'll come back.
yeah. No, my little ones now are, hey, teach us how to shoot. We want to go hunting, and we want to learn how to ride bikes, and they're getting more active in some sports.
How old are they?
They're both 6 now.
6. Okay.
Yeah.
So I do got to ask, just being a twin parent also. Now, did you go to all the doctor's appointments and everything?
every single one of them.
So you did better than I did. I did not go to the ultrasound on ours. So did they zoom out and they're like, oh, there's the first one, and then they're like, oh, and here's baby number 2? Or did twins run in the family or anything?
No. So there are one set of twins on my family, and it would have been my grandmother's brothers, and they're the only twins in the entire family line. And on her side, there aren't any. And so we were never picturing twins. But what's funny is, so I'm going to refer to her as my mom. She's my grandmother. She raised me since I was born. That's who I moved here with. But she always used to tell my uncles when they were, in the process of having their marriages and kids, you're going to have twins, you're going to have twins. And she swore my one uncle, the youngest one, was going to have twin girls, redheads, because his wife's a redhead. And she swore, I seen it. It's in my visions. I see it at night. Never had any twins. And he has a boy and a girl, and neither of them are close to redhead. So that vision was far off. We found out we were pregnant. I went to all the appointments except that one where the wife got the pictures of baby A and baby B. Yep. And she's, at home, whatever. I sit down and she's like, oh, here's the pictures. And I'm going through them. I don't know much about this stuff. And I just see baby A. And I'm thinking, all right, like A picture, B picture, different sides. Yep. And then it started clicking the more A and B's I saw. Oh. And she's secretly recording me from behind the kitchen table.
I got recorded also.
Yeah. And all I did was just, are you kidding me? And she's laughing. I'm like, you're kidding, right? Like, this is a joke. No. And I was like, oh my God. And so, yeah, no, we were very surprised. But they're a handful. So
I'm sure. Are you guys done then?
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
Twins seem to do that for whatever reason.
Same thing. So we had Nate Armstead on last week. He had twins too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just recently, and they said the same thing. We don't think so, but probably.
Right.
Yeah. Twins. It's crazy. I could never imagine my life without twins at this point. But one.
I've always said if you wanted 3 kids,
and
you get them out in the second shot. I mean,
it was quick.
Good to go.
Yeah. No, we're kind of scared to even try because we've actually, we're kind of on this thing that if we try again, the roll of the die is going to be, we're going to have triplets and they're going to be girls.
Once you have it,
no more.
Once you have twins, they say the second set's easier to have.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like the first one's the hardest and the second, it's all easier.
So that's not something we're trying to risk.
Yeah. No. I don't blame you. Other than that, do you have any, like, you kind of mentioned hunting, but you don't really do that anymore. Do you have any other fun hobbies or anything that you like to do with the limited spare time that you do get?
So right now at the moment, it's just kind of left up to the kids and whatever they're feeling and wanting to do. They've picked up ice skating with the new rink in town.
How is that?
I loved it. I kind of grew up doing some ice skating, and when I moved here and figured out there was no ice really anywhere, I was bummed out. And the kids picked up some rollerblading recently in the last year and a half, and they did good. And
how did the new skates turn out?
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
I'm excited to see them. Thanks.
Right.
Custom painted some of his own ice skates.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I just couldn't live with having the same pair somebody else was going to have.
Yeah.
And so being a painter, I said, hey, I'm going to custom paint my skates. And so
that's
what I did.
When you're used to custom stuff, you probably don't want anything that's just going to be what everybody else has.
Yeah. But now the kids do ice skating. They love going to the skate park. I live right by the skate park, so they're down there all the time. Right now, one of them's doing taekwondo and the other one's doing gymnastics. They couldn't be any more different. Although they're identical twins, they are 2 different individuals from each other.
That's a good thing, though.
It is. We always treated them as such. We never dressed them alike. We never treated them alike. We wanted them to evolve into their own human beings. And even now that they're in school, we've separated them. We'll just kind of let them make their own friends, their own choices.
I'm so nervous for that day. It's coming next year. I'm nervous.
Are you going to separate them?
We're going to separate them.
I think it's good.
I'm nervous. But like you said, just so they can evolve into their own personalities. But their twin bond is so strong that it's difficult.
No,
so props to you guys.
Mine, you ask them, they're like, I hate my brother.
Oh, no.
Why? Well, because he picks on me or he this or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure it'll grow eventually. Right. But right now, they don't. See,
that's why we want to break up the twin bond just a little bit because it is so strong with the two. So yeah. But it's just funny, their little personalities.
Yeah, no. And although they're so different from each other, it's crazy. Sometimes they have little things that they do, and it's almost spot on identical. The craziest one is if you play rock, paper, scissors with one, and then you turn around and do it with the other, they throw the same thing at the same time in the same order, and then they'll both stop playing right about the same time. And it's like
That's
do you
eerie.
guys plan that
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something? So they have moments.
Have they
but
played any tricks like to pretend to be the other one yet?
No, but I did encourage it for school myself one day because they're new to the Lincoln Montessori school, and so the teachers are still kind of learning which one is which, and if their hair's about the same, you can tell them apart. For a minute there, you could really tell them apart because one had teeth, the other one didn't. Well, now they're both missing teeth, so it was easier to confuse. I was like, hey, your teeth are now gone. Maybe you guys can switch for school. And the wife's like, no.
Don't even start that.
You're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Giving
Don't
them
do it."
ideas.
Yeah, yeah. And then she's got to throw me under the bus. Oh, well, don't listen to Dad. Dad was a troublemaker in school, you know.
See, that's where my twins get it from. They did it at one time at swimming practice. Chloe didn't want to jump in. She's kind of nervous about it, but Livy had no problem with it. And the instructor was like, all right, Chloe, jump in. And like Livy goes and jumps in for her. And she's like, wait a sec.
Right.
I wasn't there for it, but it would have been hilarious to see in
Right.
person.
Yeah.
That's funny.
They're smart like that
They are. They really are.
because it's two brains too. So, I mean, they get in twice the trouble.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, and if one doesn't think about it, the other one
one
does,
does,
and
and then
they
they both do
encourage
it.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how can we make this better or
Yeah.
something, you know? So it's
teamwork.
constant.
Teamwork makes the dream work with that.
Yeah, it real true.
Do they sleep in the same room?
Right now they do.
Yeah.
Yep. Never tried bunk beds. They each have their own half of the room, and they're decorated down the middle. They each have their own half with
That's
their own
kinda cool.
decorations, and they share a closet space. Is
Yeah.
about it. But yeah, no, they're under the same room.
That'd be
You
kind of
know,
wild
all
to
the
see
time.
the split
Yeah.
the split down the half.
Yeah, one. So two of our walls are red, and the other two are blue, and which happens to be their favorite colors. But yeah, they each have their own decorations, and
That's cool.
one's a hoarder of all his art stuff, and the other one's very minimal. You know, just a few real nice things here and there. So his wall looks a little bare, and the other one we can't.
Just stuff.
yeah, we
everywhere.
can't. Yeah, there's not enough room. So
Can't even see the paint. It's just,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
whatever. That's really cool. Anything else about like your background or your life that you want to kind of get into before we get into Twisted Metal?
no, not really. I mean, went to school, got a job.
You got a unique story.
Started having some kids, met my wife. I actually met her at Envisions. She just happened to be working for one of the other group homes at the time, and she needed somebody that could pass out medications for her because she was so new, so she didn't have her med license or whatever. And so she called over to the house I was working at, says, hey, you know, I need somebody to pass meds. Are you free? It's like, well, I'm cooking dinner for my guys, but come over and I'll do meds for you. And we had this thing we called the stalker list. It literally listed every staff member and their phone number right next to it in case you ever needed it. And so as soon as she left, of course, I'm like, what's her number? You know, and so I started texting her, and one thing
awesome.
led to another, and we started dating, and, you know, just life. And so we ended up married and got the kids, and
That's really cool.
What year did you graduate? Northeast?
Northeast. I want to say it was like 15
That sounds
in,
about
in
right.
2015, because we got married in 2016. So it would have been right after school got done. And then the boys were born in 2018. So, yeah.
Didn't skip a beat getting to the boys then, huh?
No. And
2 years?
yeah. So, I guess I didn't really realize we were trying. It just happened.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it just happened.
That's
So,
cool. I don't want to skip over the Envisions either, because that's kind of a unique experience. You were there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Can you kind of walk us through kind of what that was like? You said it was, what is it again?
So it was a group home.
Group home.
Yep, a group home. And all the individuals, I hate using the word, but medically they have some sort of mental retardation.
Okay.
But they're behavioral individuals.
So not like physical disabilities. This was mental.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they were all behavioral to some extent. And so during the daytime, they all go to what they call day services, basically just a big open room, and they can keep them all there. They're doing crafts, little things here and there to stay busy. some of the more higher functioning individuals hold a job, helping clean tables somewhere or paper routes.
Is that the
sort
ones
of
where we see in
thing.
like restaurants and everything where somebody's like kind of supervising them for the most part?
Yeah.
Is this something like Mosaic?
It's
Or
the exact same thing as
just
Mosaic.
two different companies,
Just
though?
a whole different
Okay.
company.
Okay.
Yeah. The main company was based out of Omaha, and somehow they ended up branching out this way. And yeah, like I said, I was just needing a job, and a buddy of mine that worked there was like, "Hey, they're always hiring. Come check it out." And so I was like, "This isn't for me, but I need a job. 2 weeks till I find something." And
Would you do some of like the job shadowing and stuff with them, or what was like your main role?
no, so it was very split up. During the daytime, when all the individuals were at day services, or they did have a school as well for the younger kids, they each had their own staff members that worked there during a set amount of time, and then at night, the individuals would all go home. There were placed 3 per home, and there was like 12 homes throughout town. And so then my position was after school, I would come into the house, ensure that they were doing their chores, their hygiene, their medications, that they were fed, and they just kind of lived a normal life. We just kind of were there to help them out with that. And so I went from one house to another as just a day staff. And then over time, I just kind of built up seniority, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. And they made me like a lead staff. I was in charge of the one house and all the staff that worked there with me. And so then I oversaw all the menus, all the finances for the house, because we carried around little Ziploc bags. And that one bag had house cash in it for groceries and home expenses. And then we had 3 separate bags, and each individual had their own amount of cash that they would get and can go spend and that sort of thing. And so I did that for, like I said, it was close to 10 years. I tried moving up a handful of times, but it was such a closed group of people that was high above us that unless you were involved with them or related, there was no real room for growth. At least that's how I seen it.
That's too bad.
Yeah. And so there was no advancement. And the bosses started, "Hey, you're almost to your 10 years. Once you hit 10 years, you're a lifer here. Just like us, you're a lifer here." And that started to really kick in. And I was like, man, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? Don't get me wrong. I'm doing something good.
Right.
The pay wasn't terrible. Good job. But it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so that's when I said, I got to go to school. And it's kind of funny because I decided to go to school, and I always told myself I'm never going to college. I'm never paying for college. But having kids really changed that mindset, because I was actually top of my class. I was always there, going above and beyond what I needed to do. I just really applied myself because I knew it wasn't just school. This was going to be my future. So I had to make it work.
Crazy how quick having kids can flip your switch in your head.
Yeah. And right when I started school, the wife decides, hey, I'm going to start school too. So then we were both kind of going to school and trying to manage our job and my kid and everything else. And
why not do it all at the same time?
Why not?
Just get it all done. Just get it done and over
Do
with.
it done now.
Yeah. No. So she went through Southeast. So she had a lot of commuting back and forth to Lincoln. She went into the surgical tech program. So that's what she does now. And, but yeah, no, she graduated, jumped right into the hospital, and that's where she's been
Here at
ever
Faith?
since. Yep.
Cool.
And that's where she's been ever since.
So that's where your benefits come from?
That's where they come from. Yeah. So no, I do. It's funny. I get tons of insurance calls. Hey, but health, no, it's covered.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's covered.
Trust me, I'm
It's
covered. So
That's good. So you said you graduated in 2015,
yep.
right? So bring us from 2015 to now.
So I graduated right off the bat. The first thing the teacher asked when we were in school was, what do you want to learn? I raised up my hand, and from day one, I said, I want to learn upholstery work. Well, we don't teach that here. But he said, maybe I can pull some strings, get somebody to help you out. And I think he had Jorgensen in mind to help teach me. And one thing after another, it just didn't work out. So he's like, sorry, we just aren't going to be able to teach you that. We're more of a collision repair school. And so kind of bummed me out, but whatever. I still just learned everything I could from these guys. Are both brilliant guys when it comes to the auto body field.
Was Tom your first year teacher?
Yeah, Tom was my first year teacher.
Couldn't remember when he started.
And it was his first year as well. Yeah, we were his first class. And great guy. Great guy. I feel like he really taught us everything we needed to very well.
He's very fresh out of the field at that point in time too, which is nice.
Who's Tom?
Tom Hoyle.
Who's
first year auto body instructor up at Northeast.
Oh, okay.
So he would have quit when he came from Mars.
Yeah.
Not
Mars
the
Auto
owner, but just worked there?
Yep, just worked there.
Okay.
And same thing. He'd been in the industry for 40 some years.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Interesting. And he went out and started teaching?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yep. And I actually think Dave, second year teacher, same thing. He worked in the field for many years, and I think he just got to a level where he couldn't get any better. So what else to do other than teach what he knows? And great teacher.
I think they enjoy having summers off.
Yes.
I mean, can't
Be
complain
nice.
there.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I see Dave quite a bit. He lives right by me, and so if we happen to be going by the house, he comes out and, hey, how's it going? And the kids talk his ear off, and kind of grew up with some of his kids. So I've always kind of had a connection with Dave that way.
That's cool.
But yeah, great guy. But no, so right off the bat, he's like, well, unfortunately, we're more of a collision school. So we kind of got to stick to this. But everything you're going to learn is going to apply to the restoration, the customs, however you want to use this. And I said, all right. And so went through the schooling. We got to the point where we had to start doing our job shadows, like our co-ops and stuff. And he insisted that I try the collision route first. He says it's always easier to learn collision and then jump into the restoration versus going restoration and jumping back into the collision world. And
Makes sense.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, you're the teacher, you know best. Let's do this. So he got me started at 3D Auto Body, and I was there for just a couple weeks, and it wasn't my thing. I wasn't feeling it. And so I ended up not sticking with them throughout my whole co-op. He found me another shop in town that I was able to finish my co-op, and it was a little bit of the restoration and still some collision work. And I think that was more of a stepping stone for me. It never felt like that was going to become the shop or, home for me long term. So I finished my co-op there, stuck it out for a little bit, and then I got an offer from a shop in Wayne. That guy did all upholstery work, and he was starting a new body shop, and he needed somebody that could do the body work and the paint work and everything else. And I'd been recommended to him as, hey, this is the guy you're going to want to help you. So I got in touch with him after I was told that he was interested in meeting with me through Dave. Dave's like, hey, I got this guy. So, all right. So I meet with Garrick up in Wayne and sat down, had the interview. Both him and his dad were present, and they felt like I was going to be a good match for their shop. And I right off the bat, I was like, oh, this cool guy. You know Garrick.
Yep.
And
very cool guy.
Yeah, real cool, down to earth guy, and younger as well. And so I was like, all right, cool. And so I jumped in there, helped him kind of get everything running on the body side of stuff, and it just became a really great shop. I loved it. I learned a lot. That's actually where I learned the upholstery work.
I was gonna say it's almost the perfect opportunity for
it
you.
It was, and that was the first thing I told him. I said, I really want to learn upholstery.
Because at that time, was Garrick doing the upholstery? Or was
no,
Jason?
He had Jason.
Yeah.
Yep, he had Jason already. And he's like, well, maybe with time, we can figure something out. And so, whenever I had a little bit of downtime, or I just happened to be walking by the upholstery area because it was right up front, so I had to go by it every day. If the upholsterer was there doing something, hey, what are you doing, or what's that, And I started asking, and I think he noticed I wanted to learn. He's like, you want to learn this? I was like, oh man, I really want to learn. And so next thing I know, I end up buying a sewing machine, and I asked Garrick, you mind if it gets dropped off here? It's coming freight. Yeah, no, that's no problem. So I had a sewing machine, table, and everything show up to his doorstep for me, and started just running some lines. And next thing I know, I was like, all right, do a little bit more, do a little bit more.
A little more stitching here and there.
Yeah.
Double stitch. Yep.
Yeah. No, Jason really worked with me, teaching me different pointers. And even till this day, if something comes up and I call him, he runs his own business now out of Des Moines. And so hey, Jason, like, what do I do here? How does this work? And he'll walk me through it or something. And if it's something I really can't do, or I just don't have the room or time to do it, I just sub it all out to him. So I'm constantly running back and forth between his shop and mine. Here, you do this, and I'll come back and grab it later when it's done. And he'll send me things. Oh, this needs painted or whatever. So
that's really
we'll
cool.
do it that way. So yeah, no, I kind of built that friendship with him. But yeah, no, like I said, I worked in Wayne.
It's good to see people like that still exist.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times nobody wants to teach.
No, this is my proprietary thing. Like, I don't want to, especially in today's world, I don't want to teach you this because then you're going to go off and do your own thing with it. And yeah,
which I think is stupid, because the more people like that we can have in the world, the better, in my opinion.
Especially in the upholstery side, there's not many people around here.
And if they do better than you afterwards, that's your own fault.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I ran into that a lot, going off into my own. Now that I'm on my own, there's guys that I would talk to before about body work or upholstery work, and now they just, I don't know if they see me as a competition, or they're just mad I didn't go do it for them and I do it for myself, whatever the views may be. But it's almost like, we just kind of burned that bridge, all because I went off on my own. And the way I see it is we could all be helping each other out. My shop does something yours doesn't, and yours does something mine doesn't. And we could come together and help each other out.
That's the way it should be.
And instead, I'm going all over the place, finding other people or other shops that want to help me out, because some of the more local ones just don't.
That'd be like me not talking to other insurance agents in town.
Right. And you're going to do like, why not? Like,
Right.
I talk to other tool guys. Again, it's, I always say it, high tide rises all ships kind of a thing. Like, it only makes sense. Like, I don't know. I personally hate turning away money on something like that myself, but some people are okay with that.
Yeah.
Right. So, no, yeah. So, like I said, I went from Wayne, got an offer back in Norfolk right after I had the kids, and I made that change, because when I was still in Wayne, I was constantly racing the clock. I got to leave at this time to get the kids at this time because my wife's on call or whatever it may be, and then be home. And so it was just real hectic. And so when I got the offer to come to a restoration shop here in town.
Was that a recommendation, or was it kind of just word of mouth that you're good at what you do? Or
So the owner already kind of knew me, and he knew what I was doing in Wayne. Same thing. He had brought up a couple things for upholstery work there. And so he kind of already knew who I was and what I could do. And when he decided to expand his operation, he said, hey, I got room for another guy. You'd be a great fit. Come work for me. And, no more racing the clock. You're in town, just down the street. Everything's awesome. And so I said, all right. Started right away. And I didn't last very long, unfortunately. And mainly because I started to do too much of my own work. And it kind of became, as he said, a conflict of interest. I got offered a job when the Northeast College was doing their expansion, or one of their expansions. It seems like they're always doing something out there.
yeah,
They're always moving and shaking.
Yeah. So they were doing one of their expansions. Somehow, one of the guys called me and goes, hey, you do metal work, right? I said, well, I do body work, but what do you need? And he said they had a bunch of door frames and window frames and stuff that had been put in. And when they had them installed, they were all beat up, full of dents. And so I had to go through, fix all these door frames and window frames and repaint them and make them look nice for them. And I said, yeah, okay, I can work during the day. At nighttime, I just go out there and work away on all these door frames. And the guy goes, no, that's fine. Great. When can you start? And I said, well, I come out, tonight, check it out. And He's like, well, you got to have a contractor's license to be out here and like basically register as a contractor in order for us to pay you. And so that's when I said, well, all right. And I just kind of came up with a business name and registered as a contractor and started doing that job. And that's kind of where Twisted Metal Customs came. And, but I knew that the goal was always for me to own my own business. I didn't want to work for somebody forever.
It's not fun.
No. And so, I was like, all right, you know, if I'm going to do this, what's something I can run with long term? So Twisted Metal Customs came up.
Where'd the name come from?
Honestly, it just, I don't even know. It just inspirations of many other shows I've watched and other businesses. And I just, if it sounded catchy, I was like, you know, that sounds like it'd be a cool hot rod business
It's a good
shop
name.
or something, you know? And so I just kind of ran with it, did all the legalities of name searching it and registering my name and did
Which was a good thing for
LLC.
you.
Yeah. Registered my LLC and everything. And shortly after, I start getting phone calls that, hey, you're doing business under my name. You have to get rid of it, because there was another business here in town doing body work and mechanics as Twisted Steel Customs. And I was Twisted Metal Customs and Upholstery. And so his thing was that customers were getting confused. They're calling him for me and me for him, and I'm taking his work. And I said, I'm sorry, but I ran all this, you know, through the chain, and it's mine. It's registered. It. No. And so I think he was going to fight me for it until I was able to prove to him that I'd done it right. Yeah. And
Do people not realize you have to go through a pretty lengthy process?
Right.
He did not.
Because I had to change my name
Oh, really?
on my business like 6 times
Oh, wow.
for Miller Financial Services, which I know that sounds even like very simple.
Yeah.
But we had to change the name a bunch of times because Miller's a very
His common
popular
name. Yep.
name. So we had to change it quite a bit.
That's my biggest regret is not being more. Anybody that starts a business, I tell them be creative with your name because you only get one. You get one shot.
It turns out nobody's got Agent Life Media Group.
Oh, that's all right then.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
Yeah, at least you got
literally
that. Yep.
nowhere.
That's all right then. Whatever it takes.
No, that was kind of my situation. We Googled the names. Then the closest Twisted Metal anything was in like California. And so
That's
I had
surprising.
I had the guys at the Chamber of Commerce help me do all of this, so I knew I was doing it right. And yeah, California was the closest Twisted Metal anything, and I was like, all right, so I'm safe. And what ended up happening was the guy registered his business name just as TSC Auto, Twisted Steel Customs.
Idiot.
And so he never fully had the Twisted Steel down, just the TSC. And so I think after everything got proved and kind of brought out, he just kind of dropped the subject. But he wanted me to give
Kind of has to drop
everything.
the subject.
Yeah.
There's nothing
I
to do.
remember you going through that. That was quite the. It was alarming at that little point in time. You didn't know what was going to happen at that.
He's
Yeah.
really got no recourse.
Yeah, no, the
You were
guys,
good.
yeah, no, the guy's like, oh, I got T-shirts and this and that and everything with my name. I go, well, so do I. You know, what do I do now? And
Right.
so, well, you got to give it all up. I said, no, I'm not doing that. And so, luckily, I didn't. Yeah, you know, when there wasn't much of a dispute, it was just a look. I did it right, and
Yeah.
I think he was like, all right, I have no ground to stand on, and
Right.
just dropped it. So
There you go.
but yeah, no, I like I said, so then I started doing that college job, and I think the guy I was working for caught wind of it, or at least he says
That became pretty big out of college.
Yeah.
You were working out there a lot.
I was out there all the time. It was literally I'd work for him during the day, and as soon as I could, I was going out to the college, and I was out there almost all night for a few months. And he says he had people asking him, but one way or another, he caught wind, and he's like, hey, did you have to start a business for this? And I said, yeah, I did. It's the only way I was going to get paid. And he said, well, it's kind of a conflict of interest. He goes, I know where you're headed. That's how I started. I ain't dumb. I know how this works.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to be rude, but you're going to either shit or get off the pot. He's like, you're cutting everything loose and just working for me, or you're going to go off and do your own thing. He's like, either way, I think you'd be great. And he's like, think about it. All right. So I thought I at least had enough time to go home, talk to the wife at night, figure out what I'm going to do for, the future. And lunchtime comes up. Hey, I'm going to lunch. He's like, well, what'd you decide?
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Yeah,
Oh,
like right on the
geez.
spot, And
Yeah.
I was like, well, man, like I haven't even talked to the wife yet, And he's like, well, you should know what you want to do. Why prolong it? Either you stay or you go. What kind of bummed me out was everybody that was in that shop is moonlighting. Everybody's doing nighttime
Yep.
work, and I think just the level of work I was doing kind of just was like, hey, we can't have this. You have a name, they don't. So what are you doing? And I said, well, I guess I'm going to go grab a trailer and pack up my toolbox, and I went and grabbed a trailer and packed up my toolbox. I went home at lunchtime, and
Almost a blessing in disguise.
yeah, for the longest time ever, I think I kind of took a sour taste towards the guy, just kind of felt mad about it. Like, man, how could you do that to me? But now it's, I think about, hey, thank you, because you expected me to maybe sink in the situation.
And you rose the occasion.
And yeah, and here I am, almost 5 years down the road and doing it on my own, and I'm living the dream. I have my own shop. So yeah.
True entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. No, for sure. I started it from scratch with nothing. It was never something I was looking to do right at that moment. So I had no savings, my house doesn't even have a garage. So I'm like, okay, well, where am I going with my tools? Where am I going with anything now? So luckily I got some friends in areas, and he owns that trailer shop in town, All Star Trailers. And so I was like, hey, I need a trailer so I can get my tools. And right away, well, what happened? And what are you doing? And what's going on? His in-law owned a Corvette restoration shop. And when they shut it down, it just sat empty. Everything was there. And so he's like, well, if you need somewhere to go, here's the key. Have my shop, use it, get yourself going. And so very grateful for him for doing that. I started out there, and that's kind of what took off. That's kind of what became Twisted Metals Customs and Upholstery for sure. I had to start getting work. So then I went and got a couple contracts with some of the buy here, pay here dealerships, and they were feeding me cars. I was just doing quick little repairs here and there until I landed my first full restoration. And then it became a race between me and him. The guy that owned the building, he kind of started building trailers from scratch. And so we had no room. We were both on
tight.
top of each other. Yeah.
Got real tight in a hurry.
Yeah. And so it became a race between me and him, who finds a building first so we can move out, and the other person would just stay there.
Yeah.
And through some connections my mom made, she found this guy who had an empty building. He's bought it at auction and then realized he didn't even want it. He just bought it. So it sat empty. And he said, well, I'll lease it to you with the option of purchase. And so he gave me 3 years to lease it before I bought it, because he knew it needed a lot of work. You've seen a lot of the stuff I've done.
You've done a lot. It's really evolved over the last few years.
Yeah. Granted, it's still, a work in progress, but everything from clearing out all the ceiling tiles, I had drop-in tiles full of old insulation and all sorts of weird stuff up there, tore it all out. I had to put in my own paint booth, put in the bathroom, make the office what it is, install a paint room, all brand new electrical, new roof. I mean, everything right off the bat.
People don't realize what it takes to put some of that stuff in, be it the paint room, because that's fire code.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you have to have an
There's a lot of
inspector.
regulations for
A
that.
lot of regulations on the paint side of things. So people don't realize that.
Yeah, no, I fought everybody as we were putting the shop together, because they wanted me to put a 3-foot barrier all the way around this paint booth. And then it's like, well, I'm limited on space. If I give it 3 feet all the way around, my booth's out in the middle of my shop, and now I can't get as many cars in here.
Mm-hmm.
And their reason for that was if it caught fire, well, there's the walls right there. well, my building's solid brick. So that's kind of what I used to my advantage. I told the fire marshal, I'm like, what's the big deal? My building's never going to burn. It's a solid brick building. And so they signed off on it. So I'm actually like inches from my walls all the way around, which bought me enough room. But I managed to get them to sign off on everything I did, all the electrical, the paint room, all of it. And then I had some hoops to jump through for insurance purposes. They all have different regulations. Some of the first ones kind of really sucked. I got told, oh, you can't do boats. You can't do semis, because they went through my Facebook page and seen that I had a boat I painted in one of the pictures and a semi I painted. So I told them, I said, well, I'm not modifying these engines. I'm not, I'm just
purely cosmetic.
Yeah, it's just painting them, And, well, you're not a semi shop. You can't do that. You're not a boat shop. You can't do that.
The problem with the boats is that we can't, they won't cover them when they're not in the water.
Oh, really?
So because you're painting it, that's fine. But if it were to fall or you break it or anything else, then it won't be covered.
Okay. I guess I didn't know that.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I actually had an instance of that where they had, I don't know what they did for sure. There was a guy that was working on the outside of the boat, and he had, I don't remember exactly what, he broke something on the inside and wanted it covered. It was, we don't cover watercraft.
Yeah.
It's like it's an exclusion in the policy.
Huh. That's interesting.
Good to know, I guess.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So it's not because you were doing them. It's just because.
Yeah.
If something were to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they had reasons for everything. And
insurance is not fun. It's not fun.
No, actually, I toughed it out with my insurance agent. She was recommended to me by the guys at the Chamber of Commerce that were helping me. And they said, oh, she's great with all of this. She can help you out. So I just kind of, even though she ended up switching companies a couple different times, I just kind of chased her around the whole time. She just knew what my shop was all about. She was trying to do everything she could to help me. And then she decided to get out of the insurance business. And so she didn't really know what direction to send me in. And I think she just had a contact or somehow a business relation with Joe and set me up with him, said, hey, this is kind of something he's very knowledgeable on, and set me up with him. And honestly, it's been the easiest thing ever.
He's got a very good gal in there, Megan Miller, that does a lot of the commercial stuff. So she's kind of a whiz. I even call her on some things. She's been doing it a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's nice to have people like that.
Yeah. So now we're just up and going and trying to find different ways to expand, honestly. So
getting that busy, huh? Is it just you still?
No. So on paperwork, it's just me for insurance and taxes. But I have what I call my contractors.
Yeah.
I do have 2 guys that help me out full time. And it was so tough when I started getting busy. I was trying to do it all on my own. And like he said,
almost impossible.
Yeah. And like he said earlier, I hate to say no to making money.
Yeah.
And so I was telling everybody yes, yes, yes. And next thing I know, I have all these projects laying around and I'm like stressing out. The wife's yelling at me, you got to quit doing this to yourself and figure it out. And so I ended up kind of getting in the routine of what I was doing, what days. Mondays became just my upholstery day. And then the rest of the week, I was kind of doing some metal work and body work, that sort of thing. And I ended up taking on a co-op kid for the college. He kind of helped me out a little bit, and it just didn't work out. He was more mechanic than I think he was body. And I was, as much as I wanted to keep him around because he was learning, I just needed somebody that could just kind of
jump in.
Yeah.
Somebody you don't have to babysit.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're just like, some of that stuff you have to be over their shoulder, and then you're really not getting any further, making any progress or anything like that.
Yep. So he didn't work out, and then I a lot of the people I know personally, friends and just different acquaintances, they all do construction. I'm the only person out of our circle that does not do construction. They all do roofing, they all do gutters, they all do floors, they all do drywall, concrete, you name it. I can have these guys come pour a pad and build me a house, and they would all do great. But when it comes to cars, I'm the only one. And so I didn't know who to call on. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to keep toughing it out. And through Facebook, I was like, oh, hey, I went to school with this guy, and I know he kind of does a little bit of mechanic work. So then I brought him in to help me out a little bit, kind of get some stuff going. And my first guy, Paul, he's the first one to come on full time with me. He was working for FedEx at the time, and through the chain of command, he heard that they were downsizing and merging both FedExes in town. Yeah. And so he's like, hey, there's kind of my job there. And so he didn't want to wait it out. He just went ahead and quit and showed up one day, and I just heard hey, how's it going? And I wasn't expecting anybody. So I'm like, oh, all right, thinking the customer, and I turn around. I'm like, oh shit, what are you doing here, man? And he's like, well, I quit my job. And I was like, what happened? And he's like, oh, it was a matter of time. And he's like, I know you need help, at least until I find something, I'm here to help you out if you want. He just never left. He's been there every day. And is
he coming up on a lifer?
At this point, probably. Yeah, probably. He really enjoys it.
You can tell he really likes what he does.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. He really enjoys it. I'm still having to teach because he has no mechanical or body background really. And so this is how you spread mud. This is how you sand it. This is how you do this. But he's learning it. And even though he still has things that we have to work on, and I tell him, don't beat yourself over it. It happens to everybody. I screw up all the time. It's not the screwing up. It's knowing how to get out of that screw up. Like, how do I fix this to keep moving forward?
Right.
And so that's kind of what I work with him on. And so he's dedicated. The guy's there sometimes before I am, and he's got the shop up and going when I show up, and he's willing to stay till I say, go home. There's been times where crunch time, it's 3:00 in the morning. We're getting a car done because it goes home tomorrow, and we're both tired, and he's still right there just trooping along with me, even if it's just somebody for me to talk to at times.
Sometimes that's all anybody needs.
Yeah. Just a little motivation. And so
hard to find people like that.
Exactly. And that's what I tell him, because he kind of gets discouraged. And I'm like, man, like, honestly, we can work with everything else. Like, you're very trainable, but the dedication, I can't replace that. Yeah.
I did not know he had no real experience for the most part.
Yeah. No, nothing really. So yeah, he gets discouraged, and I tell him, yeah, I could fire you and maybe pay somebody else more money to do, better, or I pay somebody else and I still end up having to teach. But the dedication, you don't find that often.
Dedication, loyalty.
Exactly. Yeah. And this guy, I trust him 110%. He's there. He does what he needs to do. And I just try a little harder sometimes, and he does. He's like, I get it. And he does. But no, recently we got real busy. I was booking out almost 2 years on the waiting list. My shop is full of cars.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have if all my customers were as willing to pay me as much as they want their cars done,
Yep.
So that's the tough one. And then we got real busy, and I was like, well, I need a third guy. And I kind of threw something out on Facebook, just hoping to find somebody that would want to learn or help out. And same thing, a guy I grew up with back in the day happened to see the post, and he's a welder by trade. And he messaged me and says, tell me more. I'm interested. I'm tired of working night shift, and this welding gig, yeah, it's awesome, but it's killing me, and I would love to switch. And he was in the process of kind of self-teaching himself auto body because he's restoring an old pickup himself in his garage. And so he's YouTube videos and working. And
YouTube's a great tool.
It is the best.
Yep. And so he's like, I want to learn it. I'm all yours. And so he jumped on board, and, same thing. I think it took a little bit of adjustment time because he was working nights and strictly doing welding, and everything's precise and everything's a heavy weld. And I'm like, trust me, welding sheet metal on a car is nothing like what you've welded before. This is a lot of just tack and cool till it's welded up.
Yeah.
Really?
Pop can tin.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's really, that's what we all joke about that in the auto body industry.
Yep. Yep. And so he's been learning it. He's getting better with every patch he does. You know, and he's same thing. I want my guys to learn everything from start to finish. So if the time arises or whatever for them to, hey, I need you to prime this, or I need you to wet sand this, I want them to be able to do it to help me out, really, because I'm the only one that across the board can do it all.
Yeah.
And so now,
which is unique, correct?
Yeah. Yep. And so right now they just kind of help keep me ahead of the game on all the cars. They kind of strip them down, start the metal work, the body work, get them real close, and then I just kind of come in behind them and just kind of perfect them all, get them nice and straight, teach them as I go, and then get them painted, wet sanded, buffed out the door while they're starting on the next one. And so we're kind of getting in a routine now that my 2-year window's looking more like year and a half, depending on the size of project. But so yeah, no, we're busy, but
That's the other thing. I don't think people realize how in depth you guys go on some of your restorations.
Oh,
Complete
yeah.
frame off and paint the frames, literally take them down to absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
To what they are. Because you guys just had the Nova go
The Nova just
2-3 weeks ago.
left.
That was a
Yeah.
frame off, wasn't it?
No, the Nova was not. The Nova had made its rounds through a couple other shops.
right.
It started at one
about that
shop and then it went to another shop. And unfortunately, a lot of people that had seen it from those 2 shops, they just assumed the car was gonna die. There was no coming back for it. That's the one that's literally right there up on your screen, right below the blue. Yep, that one there. That rusty one right there.
This one?
Yep. That's that 71 Nova. And when it came in my shop, that's what it looked like. Other than it had some rollers on it, we rolled it right off the trailer looking just like that. And then the pictures of where it's all done, it's that finished blue car.
This one here?
Yeah, that one right there. And that's how it went home looking.
Well,
That's
most people don't realize
crazy.
it is complete artwork. So like
is.
there's minor defects. I've been around the field and he knows what he's doing because he's a professional at this, but there's so much little small artwork that really matters in these, and getting that whole quarter panel straight. You cut the old one off and you have this aftermarket one, and aftermarket stuff doesn't fit good.
No.
People don't realize that just because you buy it out of the catalog, it takes so much time and effort and finesse and all the little small things really do add up in a beautiful restoration job like that.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. You know, he brought his in and he kind of just watched his car die at these other shops. And so when he brought it in, even though he says no, I know he judged me right off the bat because he came in with his wife. She just kind of stood there and just watched, didn't say a word. And we're unloading this car and all his parts off this trailer and bringing them in. And you can see that they're just looking at me like, man, like,
Please don't do this to me
now
again.
we're hoping this young guy here, you know, you don't see him now, but I'm covered in tattoos, and you know, they're like, this guy's gonna do our car, like, really? And I told him, I said, trust me, once we get going, we're gonna start making progress. I just hope you're ready with that checkbook, you know?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, okay. And so it started out kind of slow. He kind of called me out on it. You know, he's like, well, I don't want you just kind of hanging a fender, a quarter on there and saying you did something just for that paycheck. But like you mentioned, he doesn't see what goes into making that quarter fit or that fender fit.
Right.
We have to cut metal, weld metal, move stuff around. And so when
These are old cars.
Yeah.
Very old.
Right.
And they're never
Road
even
heavy.
perfect
Yeah.
from the factory. So
Right.
for us to have to try and
Match
make it better yet, we're fighting everything that's there from previous and trying to make it even better yet. And so when we were doing all the little things fitment wise or sanding in between stages, and he's not really visually seeing the progress, he would question me a lot. And I'm very open with all my customers. For me, if they're happy, I'm happy, because then they're more willing to pay and they don't bug me as much.
Right.
So I can really focus on what I'm doing. And so I'm very open as to the procedures I'm doing, what I'm doing with their car. I want them to be as involved with it. And so right off the bat, I just, well, no, we did this, and I would walk them through it. And okay. Yeah, I think he was buying it. And then they picked it up, and the guy finally just ear to ear was so happy because this was a high school car of his.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Over time, family happened. He got rid of it. The wife tracked it down, bought it back as a birthday gift, and here's your car, you know? And so he even brought in his picture of when he had it, and he says, I want it to look again just like this, and trying to match the same blue and everything. And so, yeah, no, when they picked it up, his wife hopped out of the truck right away, phone in hand, taking pictures. And she's like, oh, no, you get in there too. And I was like, all right. So she took some pictures and just super happy, you know, the guy just grinning ear to ear. And it was nice because I assumed she was his ride. No, they left the truck sitting right outside my shop, right in that front street.
Yeah.
And they both hopped in it and drove off. And a couple minutes later, they both got dropped back off. And
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's probably the great thing about cars that I love. It's just the sentimental fact. You know, there's other sentimental things in life. In my life cars are super sentimental.
Yeah.
I don't think when you see this, and you've seen it a lot more than I have on some of this stuff, but like when people get this stuff, it's
Yeah.
emotional. Like,
It
Especially
is.
like your first car,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or if your parents owned it,
Yeah.
you know, a big one was I'd done a GTO, and it had been passed down the family line, but the original owners were grandparents, bought it brand new from the factory, and then the parents had it, and now the daughter has it, and to her it was just a car, and the husband's like, no, that's a GTO, you
Yeah.
know, like. So I ended up restoring it, and when they came and picked it up, she walks around the corner and she's just in tears. And I'm like, oh, I hope those are good tears, you know? But no, I mean, it looked flawless, you know, not for nothing, but she was in tears. And she's like, you know, my dad had that car, and when I was little, she's like, I remember that car, no power steering, and my little old mom just driving that thing all the way to Florida and back for family vacations. And she's like, that's all I remember. It was just this big old boat and my little mom driving it. And the mom actually happened to be there, and same thing. She kind of teared up, and you know, so it was nice to see they got to kind of relive some memories just by seeing it back to its, you know,
True original
glory or
form.
whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, just
That's really cool.
so no, it's always nice. You know, and then I do have some guys that they're just hard to please.
Yep. You're always gonna get
It's
that.
gonna happen in
Yeah.
any industry.
Yeah. So I make the best out of it. But when I get those ones that just really let a big grin or something out there at the end, I'm like, yes, I did what I was supposed to do.
That's the gratifying part.
It is. It is.
Because how long did that Nova take, start to finish?
So I told the guy, give me about a year, start to finish. We had it done in 8 months. So
That's wild though to still think about.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it takes a long time, but again, just
Yeah.
to quote somebody years.
People don't, and that's the other thing people don't realize on the restoration. I have one particular shop. This car is going to be a $500,000 car when it's said and done. I've been a tool guy for 9 years, and it's been in the shop all 9 years.
Holy cow.
It has been there since before I started, and it is still there now. They're getting close.
yeah, no, a lot of cars, they take a lot of time. Obviously, the bigger the dollar amount behind that car, and whether it's going to be a show car or whatever it may be, there's the more things involved. This guy in particular came in and he's like, look, I got burned at 2 other shops, spent $15,000 already for my car to just end up
To look
looking
like that?
Yeah. When he brought it in, he said, no.
To look like that?
Yeah. He took it in driving because it drove when he got it back. And when he took it in, he spent $15,000. And I think he said it was about 5 years from one shop to another that they had it. Because originally when he talked to me, I was just supposed to be doing the interior work for this. And then it evolved into doing the interior work and just the paint work to then, hey, can you do a little bit of metal work? I ended up doing everything from engine to paint, body, metal. I mean, all of it was done in my shop.
It's hard to see in the picture. Was that the center console you built?
No, that one was already in
was
there.
It that one? Okay.
Yep, I just fixed it and kind of refurbished it a little bit. The seats and everything else in that is new though.
That's really cool.
Yep. No, there's another Nova I'd done, I want to say like 2 years ago.
But that's a lot of the stuff people don't realize is the small, tedious.
Right there is that red card, that one right there. Yep, that's the other Nova I'd done. And if you kind of scroll through some of the other pictures, that one is one I'd done a full custom center console there.
That's one I remember.
Yeah,
you had a lot of time.
Yeah.
Custom built that thing.
Yeah, that's
because of the shifter, wasn't it?
Yep. That one's all custom built out of fiberglass. Everything's measured out.
That's crazy.
And made to fit just in that car. And I actually have another one I'm working on for a truck. That's the same thing, full center console.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah, and as you can see right there, I do a little bit of everything. I try to stay away from the newer stuff in collision, but this guy brought in his brand new truck and said, "Hey, I need a new bed liner, all the lights and everything tinted in it. Can you do that?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So we sprayed all the bed liner in it and then tinted all his lights and everything.
That's a nice thing. It's small jobs like that keep the lights on. Hey, this is a quick job. We can knock this out.
Yeah.
We're versatile. We're good at this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, I do. I enjoy doing some of the little odd and end stuff.
It breaks up the monotony.
Yeah.
Because again, 8 months on one car.
Yeah.
And granted, you have other cars in the shop, but 8 months on that one specific project, you go crazy on some of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Working on the same thing that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm not
guys are
seeing all the
getting there.
progress. Obviously,
Right.
you know what you're doing, but it's just the extra little time. You're like, man, I've been putting this quarter panel on for a month now. It feels
I
like.
know. My one guy right now, he's so drained. He's like, man, my arms hurt. It's like, it's barely 9:30 in the morning. He's like, it's from yesterday. It's like, well, sanding is 90% of our job. As soon as you're done sanding, there's more sanding to do. And it's sanding through every stage, whether we're body working it or sanding the primer or even wet sanding paint. And I mean, so we're constantly sanding, and he's just burnt out. So I'm trying to think of different things I can do to break it up for him. But I enjoy some of the little things. Like he mentioned, I custom painted some ice skates for myself.
Yeah.
And for Christmas, I did a football helmet for a guy. He was gifting it to his kid.
That's really cool.
An old Tampa Bay Bucks helmet. And so he's like, I didn't know if you like doing this. Oh, I love it. If it's something little and I can kind of play with it and do little custom things, I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. So when restoring some of these vehicles, do you have to worry about any new like safety standards or anything, or can these vehicles just be put back as?
So the only real concerns that I have when doing a full build is its structure, that I'm not jeopardizing the integrity of the frame or the structural components within that body. They have different crush zones than the newer vehicles, different. And so that's really my biggest concern, is that everything I weld is solid and is not going to fail in any way. Outside of that, we still install old lap belts. There's no airbags, no nothing like that in some of these cars. Some guys like to upgrade everything to, they want heaters, or they want,
AC stuff like that.
AC stuff.
Bluetooth radios. We want the radio that looks like the radio that came with,
But Bluetooth.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got a truck we're kind of doing like that. It's all the original look, but it's got all new modern technology.
I could probably do without the heat, but I'd probably need AC.
Yeah. You're not driving cars like that out on the salty roads very often.
No. Has technology changed in your industry since you've been in it? Is there things that technology has kind of come in and made easier or harder even?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like technology and the automotive industry is always changing, and it's all going EV, electric cars and all this and all that. But so are all the tools. All the tools are evolving to cater to that sort of vehicle or the shops that do those vehicles. But no, really, because I'm strictly just restoration, I still keep it really old school.
That's
You know,
good.
we still have a old anvil and we shape metal off of that. My wife's grandpa gifted me this old head off of like a sledgehammer, and I believe it belonged to his grandpa, if I remember correctly. And he used to use it to drive in railroad spikes.
Oh, wow.
And they've always kept it, and it's just the head to it. So I even use that for shaping metal if I need something round or just something to hit off of.
Wow.
So I still try to keep it all pretty old school. There's obviously some tools that I do wish I had to help shape metal. But with staying away from all the newer stuff, I guess I'm not as impacted by a lot of the new technology or the regulations.
In 30 years, you may be having to restore EVs. Think about that.
I hope
Haven't
not.
thought about that. Haven't thought about that one, Zach. I don't think I want to yet. Not ready for that.
Just saying.
Yeah, restoring Cybertrucks.
Yeah.
I don't foresee that being a thing. But we'll
But you
see.
know, I'm sure in the 80s, people weren't thinking that about Mustangs. Oh, you know, someday these will be worth a pile of money and we'll be restoring these. But look where we're
Yeah.
at, you know,
Yeah,
high school
no.
cars.
Yeah, I see people parking some of the newer Challengers and Chargers. You know, they might have bought off auction and we'll get to it someday. Well, someday that's going to be someone's restoration. So,
Does
You-
make go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it does make him a little hard to sell tools too, because the auto body stuff doesn't really change for the most part. You know,
Right.
over the years, nothing. You're still sanding and
Right.
metalwork and hammers and
Goes back to the old school stuff. You're not. You
Keeps me on my
You
toes.
can't walk in and be like, you want this newfangled little tool?
and be like, we don't use that here.
yeah, no, he gets that a lot. You know, he's like, oh, I got these flyers. And I look and I'm like, well, don't
not-
really need any
it's
of
not a
that.
lot
But
for
I
me.
do need some of this stuff, you know, drill bits and hammers and pliers. And,
Yeah.
you know, so I try to buy what I can when I need it.
Yeah.
So,
That's cool. The question I was going to ask was, how do you, or do you ever run across this? How do you source like any rare or hard to find parts? Or does that even happen?
Oh, it happens a lot. Yeah. There's some cars you can't buy parts for. And so either you buy a donor car that has a good part and you can cut it out and use it, or you have to make it or find somebody that can make it. Right now, 3D printing has been a huge tool for that sort of thing, because guys can 3D print a mold of that specific part they may need and then send it out and have somebody either make it, you know, whether it be like a tail light lens, or if they need it to be like a center hub cap or something, they can make them out of aluminum and that sort of thing. So I haven't had to deal with it as in depth that way, but I do have some cars that I've had to unfortunately buy donors for, just that so I can cut them out, and then I end up with a car just sitting there and nothing
Hanging
to
out.
do with it. Yeah, and
Yep.
it's like, well, I cut the brace out of it. Now what do I do with this car? I probably will never see another one like it, you
Yeah.
know? And so then I scrap them or sell them to somebody else that wants them. But tracking
Almost
down
like pass
parts-
around for donors.
Mhm.
Like, I
Yeah.
needed this, but
It's
then you
crazy,
can buy
yeah.
it for this.
Oh, it's crazy on the automotive side of things on the old classic cars.
Yeah, and
wild.
some guys will have 5-10 of these cars sitting around. I'll never know when I need a part, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So then you just, all right, he's got this, man. And you write his name and number down and, you know, just kind of make a little stack of contacts on who to call for what. And
Start
so,
getting enough, you might have to make your own scrapyard.
yeah, yeah,
Be your next side business.
right.
That's probably the biggest thing. People don't on the old cars, the chrome, you know, you run into that. Chrome is very hard on the old cars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I can't think of the old guy's name, but there was an old guy in town that like refurbished the old chrome, but I don't think he's around anymore.
Yeah,
Tim's
I guess
dad?
I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen Tim's dad in a long time.
Some of that old art stuff like that is
He's
kind of
just an
getting lost.
old
You know what I mean?
school auto body guy. Like,
That's why I like what's his face, Austin Castleberry, that does the leather work,
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
because that's just an old lost art.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad to see coming back a little bit.
Yeah, I don't tool the leather a lot. That's something that with upholstery I've always thought would be cool. You know, like some old school motorcycle seats and stuff
Yeah.
with the tooled leather and stuff. But not something I've ever really had the opportunity to learn. Would it be cool? Yeah, I don't know that I want to chase it a whole lot.
He does
but-
classes.
Does he?
He
Yeah.
does.
Oh, wow. All right.
I don't know how well it would. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's the same type of thing,
Yeah,
right?
Same kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you would learn.
Yeah.
You'd learn something.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of it, I'm sure, goes in hand with each other.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? Because like home furniture, I don't touch home furniture. It's a whole different ball game.
It's a
I'm
whole
sure it is.
different game.
Yep.
I've been around some of the other upholstery shops, watching them do some of that stuff.
I wouldn't even think if I had furniture to do that.
You would be amazed.
Is it really?
The hospital reupholsters stuff consistently.
Yep.
Really?
It's a very, very common customer for one of the upholstery shops in town.
Yep. The hospital.
Dentist office are really big. Chairs,
Really?
stuff like that. You would
I would have never thought to call a
you could
upholstery
stay
shop.
so busy with just furniture in town.
High schools.
Yeah.
I've had them call me about like gym mats
Yep.
and
Really?
the mats up on the wall. Hey, we got all these mats. Can you do them for me? The big one I did was Ricardo's. I did all the booths in Ricardo's.
Really?
And actually, the couple that own it,
Great people.
yeah. So Jay kind of does his own church stuff, and so actually we got him to marry us, and
Oh.
so that's how we made the contact.
That's
He's-
kind of
Yeah.
cool.
yeah. He's like, hey, you do upholstery, right? Still, I was like, yeah. He's like, well, my wife needs to talk to you about some booth chairs, and all right, yeah. And so I ended up doing all the Ricardo booths. So, but no, I try to turn down everything that's not automotive, even though it would keep me busy. But it's just a whole different.
It's very time consuming too.
Yeah, and it's just very different. I actually have a pretty good relationship with a lady that strictly does home furniture. I restored her husband's car with the exception of the interior because she was going to do it. And after she done it, he came in and says, hey, I might need you to kind of go over it. It's very loose.
Oh,
Well, home furniture, you just kind of cut everything close enough and then
Yeah.
you just stretch it and staple it. Automotive has to be very precise. It has to fit nice and tight. And so she had cut everything too big, hoping she could stretch it, and it didn't work. And I said, well, there's no way I can fix that without her knowing, because we're going to have to redo this. And he's like, oh, maybe not. You're probably right. Maybe
probably
not.
barking up the wrong tree
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That's
So-
not an easier to ask for forgiveness thing than
No.
permission kind of thing.
No, but I send her all the home furniture. She sends me all the automotive. So I tried to, just
It's good to have contacts
her.
like that.
yeah.
It's good to have contacts like that. Can you share a particularly memorable restoration project that stands out to you?
I mean, really, all of them. They all have their moments. But I guess really, if there was going to be that one, it would have to be the first one I ever got as my first full one.
I wondered if that was going to be the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of started at a wrong time. It was just right when COVID was happening. I had no money saved up for this. We just kind of jumped all in with no money. Ended up having to refinance the house just to pay for some stuff. And, we've slowly been trying to get out of the hole. And so,
Hey, we started ours the same way, man.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
both businesses started at the same time, did right before COVID, didn't know what we were going to do.
right. Yeah.
Sometimes, and so did Nate. It
Yeah,
seems,
he
it
was
seems
right
like
there.
everybody that kind of started around that time did the same thing, and we're all doing pretty well. So
Right. No, that's,
Don't take it
that's
as a
always
bad thing.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. I feel like if I was able to get through all of that at this point, everything else is minor. Getting my wife to see it differently is a different story. She's a little bit more strict and everything has to be planned out and running smoothly and stuff. I'm just kind of like, I'll make it work. And so every day that's my goal. I have to make it work. But no, that first restoration, it was a 66 Biscayne. Not a lot of people know the car, but if you know what an old Impala is,
Yep.
it's the same exact thing, just a different package. One has chrome, the other one does not, basically.
I didn't know that.
So I did that one. That one came in, same thing, kind of looking like the Nova. I did everything from floor pans to quarters, all new fenders. I literally metal worked and body worked every inch of that car, and mostly by myself. I took it on. So that one's kind of special for that reason. It was my first one, and he toughed it out with me from the get-go, from when I took him on to my whole moving shops and getting the new shop up and going. His car just kind of became part of the scenery, and that was his one thing. I don't want my car to become just a backdrop to your shop, and unfortunately it did. But he understood everything I was going through. He worked with me very well, and when the car was finally done, he was a hard one to please. But when it was done, same thing, just big old grin. He's like, yes, like, that's
so
awesome.
satisfying.
Yeah, he was so happy.
That's good.
But and I see him drive by the shop every day. He drives by every day, and he just waves and, hey, I need a headliner in this car, or need some parts, and still stays in touch. But
That's awesome.
yeah, and that one, I tell everybody, gave me about a year in start to finish if they're really bad. And unfortunately, his took, I think, 4 years to complete.
Oh man,
Just from all the issues I had from the get-go and everything.
At least he stuck with you.
He did. He did. There's times where I'm like, man, he's gonna pull this car from me, but no, he toughed it out and got to finish it for him, and he loves it.
That's awesome. What's the most challenging project that you've undertaken, and how did you overcome any obstacles that came with that?
Challenging? Gosh, they're all challenging.
Yeah.
none of them are easy.
Everything's, it's unique. It's never the same thing. Be like, oh, we always struggle with the quarter panel on this one, or the bumpers, or
Yeah, no. They all have, they all have their little thing. Like you said, it could be a bumper on one, a fender on another. Yeah, we're still sanding air, we'll still fit metal together, but it's all so different from each other. I guess some of the biggest challenges that I've had with any of the cars is when I get them from a previous shop.
So like that Nova.
Yep. Or I actually have a 65 Chevy C10 truck in the shop, and it'd come from another shop. They'd already started it, bed lined it, did a bunch of metal work. The guy calls me and says, hey, it's been sitting for a few years. We just want you to finish it. It's almost ready for paint. Well, I get it to my shop. I'm doing metal work. I'm doing body work. I'm regapping doors. I'm redoing the whole bed because they put an aftermarket bed in, and all the bracing is backwards in it, and it's nowhere close for paint, And so now I got to figure out, how do I fix all this without fully blowing this truck apart and restarting it,
right?
And trying to keep moving forward on something somebody's already started. And you just never know what,
That's probably the most common misconception in the auto body world is, hey, can you just paint this?
Yeah.
I brought it from another shop and they didn't get it painted, but it's ready for, how many times you hear that? Oh, it's ready for paint.
Yeah.
I can almost imagine.
Yeah, it's just ready for paint. And then I'll walk in and see your project there, and I'll look at the quarter panel from 10 feet away, and it's all wavy, and it's like,
It's like back in the car sales days when someone's like, oh, there's no hail on the trade-in.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's never been PDR'd.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's never been repainted.
Or I hear a lot, oh, it's just a little rust spot. And they don't know, you know.
That's probably the biggest thing in the in the restoration world.
You cut out that little rust spot, now you got a giant hole, and they're like, well, that wasn't there. It's like, no, unfortunately it was. You just didn't see it.
That's interesting. If you could restore any classic car in the world, what would it be and why?
It's got to be a 71 Chevelle SS. It's always been my favorite car. Just something about the way that car sits naturally, unmodified. It just looks so awesome. And if you could kind of fix a stance on it just a little bit, some wider tires in the back and a little bit of a rake up in the back, I think they're just awesome looking cars. So it would have to be that one. But I'm also a Hearst guy. I have a sweet spot for the old Cadillac Hearst. The more haunted, the better. I want one that's got so many stories. It's just something I would want in my collection.
That's cool.
That's a unique one right there.
That's not where I thought you were going to take that one.
Yeah,
the Chevelle made sense.
Yeah,
not the Hearst.
Honestly, I think that one came from like growing up. I think there was like a episode or something of like Power Rangers I used to watch, and one of the guys drove around a black hearse with like a purple interior, if I remember correctly. And
I think you're right.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
something from the Power
been a long
yeah,
time.
It's
Yeah.
definitely something.
Yeah, I was a young
That's
tyke,
funny.
and I remember it from a show, and I just always like, man, that's cool, and it just always stuck with me, and it's on my bucket list of cars I gotta have one sometime.
That'll
What's
be
the
kind of
most
cool.
off the wall thing you've painted
The most off the wall.
that you were like, wow, we're going?
Well, I've done like old sickle mowers. I've done bells, just for decoration. I think I did a really old Coca-Cola cooler from like back in the 70s.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. That one was neat. Same with the sickle mower. When I first seen it, I was like, what the hell is this thing?
Yeah.
You know, and the guy's like, oh, you know, my time's coming and I got money to spend and I want this in my yard. And so I was like, all right, cool. You know, I've done some tractors. Like I said, I've done a boat. You know, I try not to shy away from anything. To me, I feel like everything's paintable. So you want
That's
to paint
true.
it, I'm gonna paint it. You know, and
Like you said, you hate to turn down money.
yeah,
Yeah.
Even I just thought of this. Even your Dragon Ball Z car.
that thing.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. I was just thinking of
Yeah.
everything I've seen in your shop.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the most interesting one I've done.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, that should be on my page somewhere, and you can't miss it. It's bright.
I would hope I
orange
wouldn't miss
right
it.
Yeah, right there.
This
yeah.
one?
Yeah,
Yep.
that one. Yeah,
That was quite the project.
yeah. It's a Nissan Altima. This guy had it sitting in his driveway, and he's like, "Oh man, I want you to do this car for me. It's got to have a full body kit and all these Dragon Ball Z stickers, and I want this and I want that." Honestly, the paint job on that car is probably worth 8 of those cars.
Right?
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
It was a very with all the
That candy paint is ridiculous
wow.
for cost, but we did all the body kit on it. We painted the wheels to match. I mean, everything, and then installed all the vinyls on it. And there was supposed to be more on the sides that he wanted, but they really clashed with each other. And so I was like, we can't do that. But
it was clean. I like the color, but I'm an orange guy.
yeah. And
I love orange,
unfortunately,
too.
like a week after he took it home, he calls me and goes, "Hey, I kind of ruined it." I'm like, "What'd you do?"
Oh no.
"Oh, I ripped the whole back bumper off of it."
Oh no.
I did not know that.
"What?" Yeah. They were out partying. He's big friends of some of the local artists. MC Gringo.
Oh, okay.
He comes and performs, and so he's big friends of him. And they were out that night or whatever after one of their performances, and they rat packed the car full of people. So I'm sure it was already riding low.
Yeah.
And he says they're just going out on the highway, and next thing he knows, he just ripped the whole bumper off. And I was like, oh man. And
That's too bad.
yeah, he's like, so I'm gonna have to buy a new one, have you fix this. All right.
I don't think I've ever seen that car on the road actually.
No.
I haven't.
Yeah.
It's here in town.
In Woodland Park, actually. That's where he lives. So I think he just parked it, and that's where it sits now, which is
So
funny
good.
because when I went and picked it up from him, it was on all flats and it was just parked. And
Really?
so he had me redo it, and I think now it just parks.
Yeah.
So
Jeez.
a lot of money in that car for it to just
Be parked?
sit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But the engine is completely stock. I think it even knocked when we started it to get it
think I
out the
remember that.
door.
So all that paint for
Yeah, it needs
very
it
aesthetically
needs
appeasing.
everything.
Yeah.
Looks sharp. It's not.
was there anything that surprised you about starting your own business? Anything that threw you off when it,
I mean, everything really. It's
good
not
answer.
as, yeah.
It's a good answer.
that is a good answer.
It's not as easy as somebody would think. Like,
No.
oh, I'm going to start a business today. Everything from researching my name and getting that registered and paying all the fees for all the forms you have to do, and getting everything legitimized and signed off on. There was a lot of things that I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. And I always got told, hey, get a lawyer, have a lawyer help you.
Mhm.
But then I talked to some people over at the Chamber of Commerce, and they're like, oh no, we can help you get this done in no time. You just pay your fees. And well, that sounds cheaper than a lawyer. So we did it that way. And I got to sit and
you
do
have $300 over a lawyer, sure.
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. And so I was like, yeah, no, let's do it. And I got to sit and watch it all, and so I kind of learned a little bit about it. I'm kind of in the works of, like I said, expansion. I want to keep growing, still keeping it all to the restoration side of stuff, but one of the big things I usually bring up to Cameron is wanting to do more smaller things for that fast turnaround cash, because I get a car in, sure, they pay good money, but by the time I start it and I finish it, I burn through paychecks sometimes. I get customers that, I'll be in 2 weeks, and I don't see them for 2 months, and it's like, now I'm pulling money out of my own pocket, or asking the wife, like, please let me use our joint account money to pay for these guys' hours and stuff.
That's the hardest part in the restoration side, because it's not their daily driver. They don't need this car to go to work.
Exactly.
This is fun, to them. Like this, they don't realize, like, this is how I pay my bills. This is I paid for materials. You know
exactly. Yeah,
that's a very it's a very common thing in the industry, but it's most people don't know about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what it takes.
No, for sure. And the big thing too is sometimes we get a little slow, and like I mentioned earlier, all my buddies do construction, and they're like, oh man, we're doing $40,000 buildings, every 2 weeks. And it's like, yeah, but people need homes, people need buildings. Not everybody needs a nice Chevelle or Nova or Corvette.
Right.
They just want one. So, I'm in that want, category versus the need. So sometimes it tends to fluctuate on my finances a lot. And I just, what's next? What can I do to get me out of this hole? Do I pick up more upholstery stuff or do some of the odd end jobs? For a while there, like I mentioned, I worked at UPS right when I first started, because like I said, I jumped into this with no real savings at all. And we refinanced the house to pay for a new roof and electrical. And I'm like, all right, well, I have a business, but I have no money. And so how do I do this? And got a job, and I was working, UPS and trying to keep everything at the shop till the shop just became priority, got busy enough. And now I just kind of live there, tend to get myself put in the doghouse a lot. Because the wife's like, I get it, you have things to do, but we have kids and you got to help around the house. I can't do it all myself, because she's in the afternoon, she's the one at home all day with the kids. So I get home, I'm home anywhere from 5 to 3 in the morning. It just depends what I'm doing.
Right.
And more so, it's between the hours of 9 and 12 that I'm home.
Right.
And so I get home, kids are in bed, and she's already done, cooked and cleaned and did everything else. And so I get in trouble for it. And I'm working with my guys a lot to kind of just be self-sufficient, do what you can with what you can. If I'm not here, if you have questions, call me, but otherwise just keep moving forward. Don't expect me to be here till 9, 10 o'clock at night just because that's how late you want to be here working. I have a family. My kids are to that age where they're getting into activities.
Right.
It's so hard to find that balance.
Yeah.
Being a small business owner, because you just want to work. Like I'm terrible about it. I know.
I am.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
No.
Sometimes you just got to say, I need to
just relax.
Step out for a minute.
Yeah.
Yep. No, and that's a big thing. My argument with the wife is, if I don't say and do it, who's gonna do it?
Yeah.
Exactly
I have to do this, and she kind of understands. But on the other hand, I kind of go to the shop and I vent to my guys like, hey man, we got to do this and do that, and they understand. So they do their best to allow me to work my schedule how I need to keep both parts of my life functioning.
That's good.
So,
Which is, you got to have that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
yeah.
Can't just focus on business.
Yeah, you just can't make all the sacrifices 24/7. You gotta
Yeah.
reel it back in once in a while.
Yeah.
Or at least 1 day, 2 day.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you
Afternoon.
work weekends, I'm assuming?
I try not to.
Try not to.
Yeah. My wife is, when she's on call at the hospital, it tends to be more on weekends. And so I try not to.
That's good. At least you're not. You know, I know
Yeah.
a lot of some people work
Sundays are my big
seven
day.
days a week.
I do a lot of Sundays.
Yeah, no, I'll Monday through Friday, if I gotta work all day, all
You're
night,
busting ass.
that's fine. But Saturday and Sunday, unless I absolutely have to, or somebody's coming from out of town specifically to see me, we'll arrange for that. But other than that, I'm not at the shop.
That's good.
I don't talk about the shop. I just try to focus on things at home. I
Good.
may still be working at home, but
That's
Yeah.
a good balance. That's a good
Yeah,
balance.
That's
though.
your balance, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it never ends. It's always something.
Yeah.
So
So you're getting it.
yeah, so I try to do it that way, but I know the wife really appreciates it when I sporadically show up at 5 o'clock and have dinner with everybody, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
beat on
Who
the
are you?
kids a
Why are you
little
here?
bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
We didn't cook for you.
right. Yeah,
Who's this stranger at our table?
yeah. No, and and I see it in the kids too. Being both boys, they love to be rambunctious. Don't get me wrong, they love their cuddle time and everything with mom, but they see me walk in the door and
We could
they're
wrestle
just
now.
like, Dad,
Yeah.
and they come up
Yeah.
and start punching.
WWE
and
right away.
yeah, no, and so the wife can kind of see it too. She's like, they really need some dad time, and so I'm like, all right, so
And there are times I have to make sure I leave my laptop at work. Don't bring it home. I have to make sure that I don't have the laptop or my iPad or my phone around me too, because then I'm looking for stuff for the podcast.
Yep.
So it's like I got to throw everything away so I can have good
Yeah.
time
A
with
little
the
bit.
family. Yeah.
Like real lifetime.
Yep.
Got to do that stuff.
yeah, no, I'm the same way. My phone, it's my personal phone and my business phone, and so it's constantly going off. And for a while there, I was constantly just on it, looking at cars, looking at car parts, and the wife's like, even when you're here, you're not here.
Yeah,
Like,
it's so
put
hard.
the phone down. So now I have to make it a point that it sits in the room and I'm out. And, now the kids are getting to that point where they see my phone and they're, can we play games on your phone? No. So I have to go hide my phone and it's charging. Leave it alone.
That's
and
funny.
so, but no, it's cool because even when I'm busy, if it's something where it's real crunch time and a real necessity, the wife take the time you need, get what you need done, or she'll even come work at the
She's
shop.
done some stuff down there. I was going to bring
Yeah.
that
That's
up
kind of
earlier.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different world from what she's used to. She's used to sterile environments
Right.
and
Yeah.
nice.
This is the complete
This
opposite.
is
Yeah.
the dustiest
And
environment you're
she's
working.
there and she's sanding and she's wearing gloves and she's like, how my hands hurt, they're so dry
Yep.
and everything stinks, and like, how are you doing this all day?
You don't even think about it. It's second nature.
Yeah,
No.
I don't. It just comes natural for me. And, on the other hand, hey, how was your day? And she has to be cautious as to what she tells me because of like HIPAA stuff. But
Yeah,
if she
yeah.
starts talking about certain cases and, she's ruined spaghetti nights a few times, she gets a little in detail and I'm just like, "Oh, you just had to." And I can't do that sort of stuff. You start talking about like a broken knee and all these procedures, my knee starts hurting
Yeah.
thinking about it, or my hands. And
So you're kind of like Vance when he sees the,
Yeah.
the videos. He
Yeah.
can't stand. I always send TikToks of somebody breaking something or something, and he can't. Stand
no,
it.
I can't. When you see that leg flapping or something, I'm like, oh no, I just can't do it. And she loves it. She wouldn't.
Obviously, she almost has to for what she's doing.
No. She loves that, getting in there and seeing everything and how it works. And it's cool because she teaches the kids about this sort of thing. She'll come home and, Mom, what'd you do? And they start talking about, they know the terminology. I don't.
Yeah.
Did you
So-
do a knee this or an ankle this, and they know the bladders and they know the anatomy. And,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
and so I'm like, man, I hope one of you's a doctor so you can start giving me some money.
Yeah.
'cause-
I want to be in a good home someday.
She ever hit on you being like, "Hey, can I cut you open?"
No. I think
Run if that happens. No, I'm just
Yes,
kidding.
no, for
you
sure.
Might, you might have a,
She wants to cut
Dexter
those.
on your
Yeah,
hands.
All the nights he doesn't come home, she's like, I can't wait to cut that guy.
Right? No. We're total polar opposites. She's extremely calm, and so if she starts getting angry, something's wrong. Something is really wrong. So then I should be worried.
Yeah.
But just very, very laid back. She enjoys what she does, and she's learned to like cars. I drag her around enough car shows.
So she almost has to, right?
Yeah, yeah. She's got some cars that she knows of that she wants herself, and so she, cool. It's funny. She'll come by the shop and start working, and I got to give my guys crap because I'm like, man, how's my wife's working circles around you guys? Come on, But no, she enjoys it. She helps do seats. If I need her to, she'll tear them down, put them together. She does body work,
That's really cool.
Yeah, she's been in the shop a few times since I've been in there.
Yeah.
Something you guys can kind of do together.
Yeah. Sometimes if she has a day off, or like I said, if I'm really in a pinch, she's always willing to help. So that's cool. And the boys see it, so they enjoy it. Yeah. Hey, can we go to the shop? And yeah, sure. They just want to go push a broom around and play with tools is all it is. Yeah. But whatever. They're at the shop. They enjoy it.
Right.
That's the main thing. I enjoy it. Like that's what I like with my kids and everything. It's just the small things like that.
Yeah.
Being able to own your own business and have that freedom that the kids can come.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Mine's a little boring to bring the kids to.
Right. I can understand that side of thing.
Hey, you want to watch me sign some paperwork?
Yeah.
Right.
No. What advice do you have for any aspiring entrepreneurs out there?
I guess start with some money somewhere. Start saving, because I get a lot of enjoyment of owning my own business. The flexibility of I have to come and go for the kids and attend their events, or one of them is sick, I'm not going to work today, or whatever it may be. I do get a lot of enjoyment from it. But man, the stress that comes with owning a business, especially when it's from the ground up, from scratch, just kind of unprepared, it's really tough. So, I mean, for me, I guess the biggest thing would be just be prepared from the get-go, and
which is tough to do, and you're never always going to be fully prepared.
Exactly, because you just don't know what's going to come with it.
It's like having kids.
Yeah.
You can be as prepared as you want. You're still never prepared for when you bring that little demon home.
Exactly.
The way I look at it is if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
And there's people that aren't cut out to own their own business, and they want to go in. They want to come in at 8 o'clock. They want to go to lunch at noon, come back at 1, and then go home at 5 o'clock, and I'm done with work.
Right. No.
Yeah, think about being able to put it down.
Oh my God, I can't even comprehend it. One of my friends I was talking to today had the day off, and I was like, on a Tuesday?
What's a day off?
What's a day off? I'm like, oh man, I couldn't comprehend a day off, but I don't want to. And that's why I own my own business.
Even when I take days off, my phone's still blowing up. I'm still checking emails. I'm still taking phone calls.
Yeah.
No, I got a friend. He could be Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning, and hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm golfing. Why? Don't you work?
Yeah.
No, my guys are working, but I'm out golfing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, he's like, come golf with me. Yeah, maybe on Saturday.
Yeah.
Not in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
Like I'd love to, but no, I
can't. And then you make the plan for Saturday. You're like, oh wait, I'm supposed to meet this customer. I got to do this. I got to do that. Let's do next Saturday. No, wait, I got that. Yeah.
Yeah. It just never works out. So.
What is the best piece of advice that you have ever received, whether it's business, relationship, life in general? I know it's a tough question.
It is. Honestly, I think the biggest, most positive thing I've ever been told that stuck with me was every day's a holiday. And that came from Dave.
Yep. I can hear him saying that.
Yep. Just no matter what, just look at it as every day's a holiday. You get another day, another chance, just don't dwell on that past, and so
I've never heard it put that way before. I've heard the same kind of concept, but never heard it.
Yeah, and
quite
so
said that way.
It was always, hey, how's it hey, how's it going, or whatever. And every day's a holiday. And so it just kind of stuck with me. It was the most simple thing, but it just, no matter what I'm facing or whatever, I might look at it in different ways. Like, hey, thanks for being here another day and seeing my kids, whatever. But that every day is a holiday. I just got to remind myself, not every day is perfect, but you have another day, you have another chance. And so that to me is the biggest thing that from the get-go's always stuck with me.
That's a good one.
That's awesome.
Definitely a good one. Is there anything about Twisted Metal that we missed, that we didn't touch on, that you want to touch on?
I mean, not really. it's pretty straightforward. I'm just a hot rod restoration shop. I do upholstery work.
No furniture.
No furniture.
furniture.
No. And I've made the
But
exceptions.
you'll paint anything.
Yeah, I'll paint
No
anything.
furniture, but I'll paint anything.
Yeah.
There we go. Should be your
But-
slogan.
Right? Yeah. Put that up on the wall.
Yeah, that would be
So,
funny, actually.
Right.
That'd be a good time.
But pretty straightforward. I try to just focus strictly on hot rods and restorations. As much as I want to expand into some of the quicker, faster cash, doing some daily like service work, oils, brakes, that sort of thing. The big one is I really want to expand into the more one-off custom builds. That's my overall end goal. I don't want to just be that other restoration shop. I know there's not many of us out there, but I don't want to just be that other one. I want to be that shop that is building one-off cars. So I've got concepts of my own drawn up and designed already with renderings. Had one almost lined up, ready to go until I got told, build it, but on a Tesla technology. And I said, no, I'm not doing that.
Ooh.
And the guy was ready. He, what's it going to take? I'll give you all the money you want
This is
to
going to be a
build
full
this.
custom car.
Full custom built car, one off, no other one like it. And he was willing to give me the money for all of it.
Wow.
But his only thing was I had to build it using a Tesla car with its technology. And I
Wow.
said, Tesla can't get it, right? What makes you think I can? Burn my shop down. I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Right.
I'm a hot rod guy. We're going to put a gas engine in that.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it's not really my style. And so he backed away, unfortunately. But he's always brainstorming, what can we do that's something that I really want? We've thrown the idea out of like a 6-seater Corvette, all sorts of different projects. And we just haven't found the one that really appeals to him that will kind of get him to release the money for it. But that's kind of the direction I want to go into.
Well, if we ever start making millions for the podcast, we'll get a custom
Agent Life Media.
Agent Life Media car.
That'd be fancy.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So
Don't know if we'll ever get to that point, but
Someday.
someday.
yeah, it's the dream. But
Hopefully, while we're all still doing what we're doing.
right. So, but yeah, no, I just I enjoy the cars.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. Well, if you're good with that, we'll kind of move into the next portion of the show, if that's all right with you.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Did you pay attention to much of the local election stuff?
A little bit.
In Norfolk here?
I voted on some of it. So,
What were your thoughts on how kind of everything went down?
gosh, that's tough because everybody's so divided. And
And maybe not even who got elected, but more of like some of the stuff that was going on between the different candidates and some of the mailers that were coming out.
yeah, no, I try to just block all that out.
I don't know how you did that.
right? Yeah, it's everywhere.
And maybe I just paid more attention because we were doing this. But
And it could be.
yeah.
One of the things I was always told was never discuss politics and never discuss religion because everybody has different views. And granted, I might, side with some of the things these guys say, but I feel more this way, So when all the flyers start coming in, all the phone calls start coming in, I just, nope, it's trash, it's trash, it's trash. I read what I needed to read. I kind of knew what they wanted to vote on, how I felt on it, and then I voted based off of that. So I might have kind of bounced back and forth on certain
That
of the
happens,
issues. And so, yeah, no, I just try to ignore it. If it doesn't directly affect me, I for sure try not to voice an opinion on it. Granted, everybody has an opinion, and you go vote on something, you got to put something down. But
Well, and usually locally, a lot of it directly impacts you, but a lot of it's not going to. There's not bad people
Right.
running,
exactly,
right?
Yeah,
At least for the most
Yeah.
part.
yeah,
Here in Norfolk, there was. I mean,
They're all decent people.
you're going to end up with. It just depends on which little piece of the information.
yeah.
When you get to the federal side, that's a different story. But at least
Yeah.
locally, we know that there's really not going to be any.
Yeah, there's
issues.
nothing real big,
Yeah.
major. So, But yeah, no, I try to just kind of keep it real minimal. I don't dig too into it. I just kind of
Get a few facts and kind of move forward.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
So-
a good way to look at it. At least you're not stressing yourself out over it.
Yeah, because like I said, it at the end of the day, regardless of how I truly feel or what I really want, am I gonna get what I want? Probably not.
Not at the end of the day, not everything anyway.
Exactly. So it's just one
No
of
matter
those
who you
deals.
choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just try to kind of like you mentioned, do my own little bit of reading on what I needed to and just kind of move forward. And after
least you
that,
do
I
some.
just ignored it.
Because some people do none.
Yeah.
And don't even go to vote or anything.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
And I was big. I used to not. I used to not vote. I used to care less. I was big on really, I'm just one vote. Does it really gonna matter? Probably not. But as a business owner, some of the things they were talking about now, it kind of affects us. And so I was like, all right, I kind of got to be in the loop of this. Having kids now, with everything going on, I was like, all right, I really got to pay attention here because what we vote on, what happens is going to impact my kids.
Yep. It's gonna snowball into something.
Older. Exactly. And so I was like, I got to get a little more involved. And so that's why this year I really did a little bit of research and voted, how I felt, which I think kind of surprised my wife because she's like, really? You were in the loop of this the whole time? You voted? Like,
I am
'cause she
slightly
did.
jealous of you guys because I listened to all the candidate podcasts and I didn't get a vote for nobody. I mean, there was a couple people, but most of the people I didn't even get a vote for. So
Yeah.
I was well educated for Norfolk.
There's quite a few like Woodland Park people that were a little upset too.
Yeah.
So
Just funny.
yeah.
Right. At least you're in the know.
I was in the know on that
Yeah,
one.
You knew what was going on at least.
Oh yeah,
And like I always said, the local stuff still affects Pierce's.
it does. It was all the bedroom
Madison's.
communities and everything.
Yeah. Now let's move to the federal side. So now that the election is over, what are you most looking forward to going into the next 4 years?
Honestly, I really hope it just is easier financially on us, both on personal and business level. I feel like since Biden took office, gosh, man, trying to own a business, it's hard. Just the
tough.
costs of everything. All my parts come from China. And then when the docks were all closed off,
Yep.
trying to order parts. Oh yeah, well, back order could be 7 months. We don't know.
Right.
Your parts sitting out in the middle of the ocean. I don't know when you're gonna get it. And it's like, well, I wish I would have known this, and so that really made it tough. So I'm really kind of hoping to get a little more, not really leniency, but just a little more of a break.
A little more bump in your paycheck. I get that.
Yeah.
As Vance always says, he's getting paid more, but he doesn't have as much money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I mean,
No, trust me, that was a good 4 years for me. Like
Yeah.
that's really where my business took off was that point in time. And
I would agree. I was definitely doing better
yeah,
during those times. And
again, I still feel like I'm selling more, but like it's
Yeah.
not all there.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So I think that's the big one. Is
Are you with the stuff coming from China? Are you worried about any of these the tariffs at all? Do you think it's going to affect your business?
I think it's going to affect us just in the fact that they're going to raise prices
Yeah.
on everything.
Yeah.
If they have to pay for those extra tariffs or the higher tariffs, they're
Kind
gonna
of
have to
depends on what
make
the
it-
product is, from what I've
But
Yeah.
again,
researched.
if it's profitable to run a business in America, I could see more of auto part companies providing more services
I would hope so.
in the country. Like that,
Yeah.
that is one thing in the automotive industry. Like I feel confident that if it's profitable,
I hope so.
we will get more automotive business and more companies can start up and do some of
Well,
this
that's what
stuff.
the point of the
That's-
tariffs
Yeah.
is to
That's-
get more
I hope so.
American made.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope so.
I'm hoping that.
If the American
works in our
dream
favor.
still lives, this is what I'm hoping that
Yeah.
we can get on some of this. Like for your side of things, where we're restoring old cars where they don't make this stuff, we can manufacture it here in the United States.
Right.
Yeah. No, that'd be awesome.
Do you think that the administration coming in will actually be able to accomplish all that they have set out to do?
No. Mainly because there's too many people involved. It doesn't just come down to the one person saying this is what we're going to do.
Mhm.
If it were that way, I feel like every president would have kind of done everything a little bit differently. I think they're just the face of who's truly behind running the show. So that's going to make it hard for them to say, I promise this, and really stick to that. If anybody's going to pull that sort of hat trick out and make it work, I think it's going to be Trump. Everybody's always like, oh, that guy just talks too much. Well, he's not a politician. He's a businessman, and so he's trying to run it like a business. We're going to do this. And that's kind of what I like.
I think his first run, he trusted too many people and kind of got screwed over, and people got in his way. I think this time he's going in knowing.
Having that 4 years off to prepare for this next 4 years, I think will be good. I mean, these 4 years weren't great by any means, but having sat back and now he has the 4 years of experience, I really hope. And I'm looking forward to it.
I don't think he's going to get everything he wanted, but I think he's definitely going to accomplish some of the things that I think are going to be good for the country this time. I think anyway.
I'm hopeful.
Hopefully.
And I think the last 4 years woke enough people up to be like, all right, we might not like what he says, but we kind of agree with what he wants to do.
I don't think California is going to be waking up after these fires about what's going on out there.
Has to be.
Would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always thought that California as a state needs to just break off and fall into the ocean, and just kind of disappear.
I may have said that a few times in my time.
Yeah.
Probably not the only ones.
Unfortunately, it's this way, but no.
Huh. Okay. At the end of the show now, we play a little game of Would You Rather.
All right.
Oh, you ready for that?
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. Would you rather live a long life with average experiences or a short life with incredible experiences? You haven't done these yet, have you?
I have not.
Okay.
I would say a short life with incredible experiences.
So, I'm probably on that same one. I would say short life, 45-ish maybe.
I do short life, incredible experiences every time. I would much rather have incredible experiences than live a dull life.
So my one of my instructors in college, he always complained because his wife was taking him to the doctor all the time, and he goes, guys, he's like, the doctor told me not to eat red meat. He's like, I think I'd rather eat red meat, die 10 years sooner, because that last 10 years is just going to suck. He's like, if I die, earlier, I'm not going to get to do all these fun things. I'm going to live this long life, and I'm going to be this sad old man in a nursing home and everything. He's like, I think I'd rather just live life and just enjoy everything and die 10 years sooner.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I try to live my life anyway. Now it's caught up with me a little bit, and I've had to change a few things, but at the end of the day, it's what I try to do. And I've answered, I kind of reused some, but I knew you hadn't done these ones yet.
No,
these have been kind of popular. So would you rather be able to change the past or predict the future?
I'm going to say predict the future.
Yeah, I'd predict the future. I think so. I think that's a good way to do it just because, I don't know.
I feel like the past is just a stepping stone.
Correct. To who you become.
Who we are. I know a lot of people are like, oh, if I got to relive, go back in time or relive a day or whatever, I would never go back to school. One thing I always preached to my oldest was, I'm on the other hand of that. If I could go back and redo anything, school would be one of them, just because of how I took school, and I would pay more attention. I would try my hardest, try to stay out of trouble, just try and do everything differently. Just because of where I'm at today, I feel like it would kind of put me further ahead than I am versus having to work twice as hard to get to where I want to be. And that's one thing I always tried telling him is, I'm trying to do what my dad didn't do for me, for you, so that when you're at this point in life, you're that much further ahead than I ever was. So if I can kind of predict the future, I think I could maybe kind of navigate to something better. But the past is the past. It's made me who I am.
That's the way I look at it. Stepping stones to who I became today.
That's how I always see it. Is I would never want to go change anything because then I wouldn't be.
I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The debate we always have on this question, though, is that what if you predict your death and you can't go back?
At least you know, I guess.
I mean, we're all going to die sometime, right?
Yeah.
So if I can predict it and it's going to be skydiving, hey, I'm going to avoid skydiving, I guess, or something. Try to
They always say you can't get away from it.
Yeah,
Once it's predicted, there's going to be
Final Destination stuff there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It'll get you.
yeah,
Yeah, it's bound to happen.
yeah. Would you rather lose all of your memories or lose the ability to make new ones?
Oh,
This is a
man.
tough one.
That's a tough one. Again, it all goes back to where I like where I'm at now.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what
my
Vance
life.
and I always go with.
Yeah, my life experiences have led me to the person I'm at.
We're okay with not making
I'm
new
thinking
ones.
of it as like that movie 50 First Dates with
Yeah.
Adam Sandler, where the girl has to kind of start every morning. Gosh, I think that'd be tough. I mean, if it was just strictly memories of like past things like that, maybe that'd be okay. But if I had to wake up and relearn who I was and everything new every day, I think that'd be tough. But no, I think just kind of
Every day be a new adventure, though.
yeah.
I mean, just think about that.
it could.
Jeez. Would you rather? This is a tough one too. Would you rather listen to one song for the rest of your life or never be allowed to listen to the same song twice?
Definitely that one.
The second one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what I always go with,
You have to, because
So Vance changed his answer last week.
Oh, really?
And went with the one song for the rest of his life.
no, I do remember that.
And
yeah.
I said, "You are an idiot."
I mean, I get on them trips where I'm like, I'm into this song and I'll beat it to death, but like eventually it's gonna get old.
I do that too, but I love music so much. I couldn't
couldn't do it.
imagine not being able to hear a new
New songs.
song.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just think that the repetitiveness gets old, and I've come to learn that more with the kids because they're big into the like Moana and
See, you hear all that.
Frozen,
Yep.
and they find that one song or that one scene, and they like it so much,
Yeah.
and then I hear it for the next 2 months nonstop.
Listen, I can only let it go for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're on a big SpongeBob kick right now, so I can memorize. I have the whole theme song memorized at this point. So yeah,
I figured you would have had that from your childhood.
I don't
anyway.
remember it. I remember watching it, but like I'm sure once it rolled in.
That's funny. Another good one here too. Would you rather have no internet or no cell phone?
No cell phone.
no cell phone.
100%.
100%.
That's been a 100% answer every time.
Yeah, because that'd be something that they would come up to something. Be it if they just couldn't be a phone or something, we would have something.
I said we could always, because the first thing that Vance said was, yeah, but it's nice to be able to be like out on the farm and have emergency
We'd
calls.
have some like
And I said you could have Life Alert.
Yeah, Life
I said
Alert.
they would have
That's what I
had
was-
some kind of technology, or even you could still have the watches and push a button, you know.
Right,
But-
or radios, walkie-talkies,
Or
something.
anything.
Yeah,
just think
Yeah.
about not being able to stream movies, no internet.
I know.
Like old
there was
cable.
a lot of things about the internet. I was like,
It's
it
everything.
would send us back to the,
I use it a
Yeah.
lot in the middle of projects. I'm like,
oh yeah.
oh man, what I'm missing a part or a piece, or how does this
I
fit together?
yeah, again, I watch YouTube all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this, and I'm like, I'm not doing this right. I need a little advice. How does YouTube want me to do this?
Yeah, I look up a lot of videos.
Mhm.
So this is one that Vance and I differ on. Would you rather eat fast food every day or never eat at any restaurant again? And I think he may have convinced me this last time on the answer, so I can repeat it. Would you rather eat fast food every day or never eat at any restaurant again? And once you answer, I'll give you Vance's take.
I'm gonna say never eat at a restaurant again,
Okay.
So you always have to eat at home, kind of a thing, right?
and that's all right. I mean, more dishes, but better
It is.
meals.
God, that's
Yep.
tough.
That's so. I was with you.
Yeah.
Or I should say, I am
Yeah,
with
it's
you.
more work.
But
and everything.
I'm gonna give you. Go ahead.
I don't know. I don't think I could do fast food anymore. I rarely eat it. I would have to just
I don't either.
Yeah.
But then you could never eat at a restaurant again. Remember
Yeah.
that. If we
No.
go the other route.
no
So
tacos.
all three of us are not eating at
Oh.
restaurants again. Well, you can make tacos.
Yeah, but it's just
So the one
Comfort
thing
food.
that Vance did say is that it doesn't say you have to eat it for every meal. So that kind of changed my perspective. He's like, I could go to McDonald's and get a steak, whatever he gets, a steak bagel he likes from there, and that and a coffee, and I could go through my day and still have meals, but then I can still eat at new restaurants or whatever. I was like, oh, if you twist it like that,
you twist it like that. Yeah, I guess I didn't. That's how I wasn't thinking about it. But
Yeah,
but if you go with, I'm still gonna do the home. I love cooking.
you do really
And-
good at it. I'm really bad at it.
I try my
Just
best.
come here and eat.
No, I try my best. The wife does most of the cooking. We plan everything out 2 weeks ahead of time. We shop that
a good
way.
idea.
That's awesome.
Meal prep, meal plan, everything's figured out Monday through Sunday for 2 weeks. And so we kind of already know if she's on call, look on the list. Oh, it's leftovers or it's frozen pizza, whatever. But when she's at home, she's the type that she's making homemade noodles and homemade sauce.
That's awesome.
We've been doing that lately.
And she's right now on this huge kick of going all natural.
That's what we're doing.
Everything.
Too. It's tough.
It's so tough. And
we've been making our own butter.
Oh man,
we're looking at making our own cottage cheese. Like
we haven't got there yet. And
good luck.
Let's hope the wife doesn't.
Don't listen to this part of the podcast.
Kai and I are doing it together. So I'm doing a lot of the food preparation. She's making the butters and that kind of stuff. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's time consuming. You got to pick a day to kind of do it. But I've felt better even than I was before doing like the workout and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't even worked out yet.
Oh really?
So I think if I
was wondering if you were still doing that.
The holidays screwed everything up.
Yeah.
And I wasn't feeling very well, but I'm going back to see Sam in 2 weeks.
So you want to know I'm not feeling well because I'm actually considering starting to run in the morning. And like the last 2 weeks, I'm like, I should just start running in the morning for like 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm just going to run.
I would never run for fun.
I think I'm literally almost at that point. That's why I don't think I'm good. I'm just not
good.
I'm not thinking straight right now.
Yeah, running is
I have my
knees couldn't take it.
Yeah,
knees couldn't take the running.
I think I'd feel better all day long. Just
you probably would. I just can't run.
I know.
My knees would probably buckle.
You just can't run fast.
No, it's funny. A friend of mine was actually talking about that. He's like, all our kids kind of need to start looking up to us as men, and we're just lazy. And he's like, we need to start getting healthy for them. And I was like, yeah, but making up excuses. And he's like, well, you live here and I live here. He's like, so if we get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and we both run to this stoplight, high five each other and run back home, that's the running we need for the day. He's like, think about it. How hard is that? I'm like, well,
it's not hard.
You're right. It's not hard, but you're asking me to get up at 6 in the morning and run.
Right.
See, I'm
just for a high five.
I'm looking at waking up at like 5 in the morning.
Wild. I already get up at 6:30. I can't get up any earlier.
Today, Tuesday, I was up at 5:30. Tomorrow I have another early shop.
No way.
5:15 tomorrow morning. I got to be up to be on the road by 6.
That's my thing. At least my excuse is I can't work out in the morning because in order to do so, I got to be up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, depending what I'm gonna do. Because my wife leaves at 5:30 every day for work, so I'm the one that gets up, gets the kids ready, and off to school. So if I'm gonna work out in the morning, it's super early, and I'm not making it through the day that way. And my schedule runs me till late, so to go home and still find the motivation to work out, it doesn't happen.
So that's why I think I have to do it in the morning. If I wake up 30 minutes earlier, if I can go on a 20-minute run, 20 to 25-minute run, I think I can do it.
They say you only got to do 2 miles. And you should be able to do 2 miles, and well, maybe not.
I was gonna drive.
It takes me 40 minutes to do 2 miles walking at an incline at like 3 miles an hour or whatever.
So I don't know. I think if I just went and ran for 20, 25 minutes, be like, all right, at 12 minutes or like 10 minutes, because it's going to take me longer to get back because I'm not in shape. So for 10 minutes, I ran somewhere in Pierce, and then 12 to 15 minutes back, and just got and then just progressively.
That might be all you need.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've got gym equipment in the garage that I was doing all summer long, and then it got cold, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to go out there. But I should just go out there and do it. There's no reason.
I'll come put a heater in. I'm good at that now.
Okay, you do that.
Yeah. I forgot how to do that.
Tell me where to buy one, and I'll put it in.
Menards. I just went and got
Leo would love it.
Oh, yeah. But even like today, I'm at, I haven't done my actual truck stuff, but 13,000 steps. So I'll get 18,000 in.
That's the problem with, like, Kai gets a bunch of steps in a day.
Yeah,
my
she
wife,
would get a pile.
She does daycare.
Okay.
So she's up and down. She's getting 13,000 steps a day. Me, I'm walking to the coffee machine and then sitting back down at my desk.
Yeah.
Some days I'm walking a lot. I'm out taking pictures or, whatever I need to do. But mostly it's just behind a desk, which has killed me. So I just got to make sure I get some kind of physical activity in during the day. But I stopped working out about October, and I haven't really worked out since.
Now I've thought about getting a smart watch or something just to keep track of steps and push myself to meet a certain limit every day. Same way, just to kind of have.
You'll find yourself walking up steps.
So
or
my
something just to catch it.
You can use the same excuse I did. My excuse was there's sometimes I'm talking to a customer and I know somebody's calling me, but I don't want to particularly pull my phone out and see who it is. Well, I can just look down at the watch.
Yeah.
That was my reasoning, and now I use it for everything.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting old. I just want to know that kind of stuff.
Love how we went from fast food to all
running,
that.
waking up 30 minutes to go running.
Yeah.
Right.
Would you rather always speak your mind or never speak again?
Oh man, no, never speak again. Because I mean, dude, I'd piss so many people off.
Well, me too, but I kind of already do it. So
Yeah.
you know where I'm gonna be on this one.
I'm a little reserved on some of that stuff.
I'm gonna lean with speak my mind.
Yep.
I'm one to not beat around the bush. You know, I tell my guys that sometimes I don't mean to be an ass, but I'm not here to baby you.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna keep it straightforward. And so there's probably things I don't say, and it should stay that way. But if it meant never speaking again,
I know that's the thing. You'd never speak again. But like, I'd make so many people mad. Like in the sales industry, it's so hard because you're like,
start learning some sign language.
Yeah.
The right ones might respect you more.
you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, I know you're not wrong.
And then you turn away the wrong ones that aren't going to buy from you anyway.
I know.
Would you rather be able to speak all languages fluently or be a master of every musical instrument? Now, on this one, I'm the only one that's picked the one piece of this. So let's see what you guys do.
I'm gonna say instruments.
Ooh.
I would do languages because
Why instruments?
yeah.
So I do see the advantage of speaking all the languages. I'm fluent in Spanish, and so it's nice being able to have that, especially with my shop being in Madison.
Yeah.
It would be awesome, but I feel like the instruments, just what it does to my brain and my peace, I would benefit more from that. I suck at music right now. I can't play an instrument to save my life. So I think being able to, and I've always wanted to, but my fingers just don't twist for a guitar or a piano, and I can't read music. I don't see the benefit of knowing every language, but I feel like the benefits of music to one's mind and inner peace is very beneficial. You know, at the shop, we crank the radio up and we're blaring music, and one of my guys can tell you who it is by first name, you know, of who's on the song singing it, to the name of the song, to every lyric. He memorizes that sort of thing. I don't. I couldn't tell you who it was. When it's playing, I'm so focused on what I'm doing. The only thing that's going through my mind is the tune of the music, not the lyrics of the song. So for me, I find peace in that. So I tend to listen to a lot of musical, like instrumental music sometimes, which is part of the reason why I listen to a lot of podcasts, because then I can put that on and I just kind of zone out on the conversation without taking focus away from what I'm doing. So to me, it would have to be music.
I'm the same way. I picked music instantly.
Some language. I just think traveling and things like that would make.
Vance was language. All the other guests that answered this one were language.
That'd be language.
But nowadays they have those little earbuds you put in and it translates real time.
Yeah, that was it the new Gemini AI?
Yeah, they had them. They have something like that at the city council meeting.
Oh, really?
Not that long ago. Something like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm musical all the way. I'm a huge music person, so I can play the sax, or used to play the saxophone. Probably couldn't pick it up anymore. But would you rather have a photographic memory or the ability to forget any painful memory instantly?
Photographic memory.
Yeah, photographic memory.
Me too, because all the pain is what made you. Goes back to the whole change in the past thing.
Yeah, it just makes you who you are.
Yeah, I mean,
Shapes
maybe
you.
if I had some very drastic traumatic experience growing up of abuse or whatever, then maybe I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to ever think
forget all
about
that.
But in our reality, I think if I could just memorize everything, gosh, I'd
make my life a lot easier.
be at the casinos all the time.
Would you rather not be able to speak for, this is kind of going back to the other one just a little bit. Would you rather not be able to speak for a month or have to speak every thought that comes to your mind for a week?
I'd rather not speak for a month.
Yeah. I remember this question from last week. So it's like, I'll just go live in my basement for a week. I think I literally burst out laughing. Or go down in there and just
When
for a
I
month.
said that?
Yeah. I'll just go down to my basement and,
Yeah,
and just
go down to my
hang
basement
out for a month. I'm not gonna come out, guys.
Yeah, that's I chose the week thing. Every thought that comes to my mind for a week, and I would just sit down here.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you could do it that way,
Yeah.
sure, I'd lock myself in a room. But
Yeah.
if I still had to go about my everyday life, it's one thing is speaking my mind, and another is really speaking what goes through my mind. Yeah, people would be
I'm
like,
saying this
"What
to be
is
nice
wrong
to
with
you, but
And this isn't even like speaking your mind. This is every thought
yeah, so
that comes to your head.
Yeah,
no, I
people
don't-
would be like,
people
"What
don't
is
need to
wrong
know
with
what
you?"
goes on up here. Not at all.
Yeah, so I'd rather just not talk for a little bit.
Just take a week vacation, guys. I'm sick.
That's good. That's good. Well, man, that's the last question. Did you have fun?
Yeah, definitely a different experience. I'm not one to just open up and talk.
You did really well.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Hey, thanks. But just being in business, I feel like trying to open up and network and communicate and just, it's something that goes hand in hand. So, the wife she's like, gosh, seeing you at work and talking to these customers and then seeing you at home, because at home, I hate people.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to hear from
Yeah.
anybody.
I have seen that about entrepreneurs a little bit. At the end of the day, we all hate people.
Yep.
Yeah, I just
There's times I don't want to go out to the bars or anything. I'm like, I've talked to so many people.
So I always tell you just to come here.
I know.
And then
And I
you,
usually-
and you can still yell at me.
Yeah.
If you want to yell at me, you can.
Yeah. I'm not trying to sell you anything. That's the worst part. I go out and I run into a customer. I was like, man, I just talked to you about wrenches for 30 minutes the other day.
right.
And I know about your whole life and everything, but like, I just want to hang out with people I don't get to see and talk to all the time.
Yeah, no,
Doesn't
so-
discourage anybody to come up and talk to me in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I've been learning a little bit more to just kind of open up, and like I said, I've been a huge fan of the podcast. You've had guys on here that I know from out in the public or just through school, and you've had them on, and I'm like, hey, I know that guy, and learn a little bit more about him, and so I listen to tons of podcasts. Granted, a lot of them are entrepreneurship or motivational type stuff. But yeah, no, I'm all for them, and so
Appreciate that.
yeah,
We're trying to do our best. I know we're not perfect, but we're trying.
Doing a good job.
Yeah, you are. They're all awesome. I enjoy listening to them. I'm not gonna lie and say I listen to every single one of them.
Not everybody does.
I catch clips and pieces and whatnot from them, and if it's something that I'm like, oh, I really got to watch it, I do, watch them.
Those shorts have become kind of a
I've
nice
enjoyed
thing. Those TikToks and the
Yeah.
reels
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
They're nice. You kind of catch,
And then you can see if you want to go spend the hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours to watch the whole thing, right?
right? Yeah.
Well.
Yep. So, no, they're all great, and I enjoyed it. So
Awesome.
and I'm not somebody a lot of people know of. So, if
They will now.
yeah. So, and like you said, you've known me for a while, but there's things that you probably
No, there was
didn't
some of your
know,
story I had no idea.
So,
So
granted,
that's probably so you would have been, and that was something I was going to bring up earlier. I mean, it's been over 10 years.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember you coming in the parts store when you were in college.
yeah,
Over 10 years I've known you.
yeah.
Oh, it goes back that long, huh?
Yeah.
Back to the parts store.
Yeah, back to Norfolk Auto Supply when he was
Wow.
in college. That's why I was curious when he graduated, because I was trying to correlate everything time-wise.
Wow.
Yeah.
Small world.
Mm-hmm.
So tell everybody where they can find you, Henry.
So my physical location is in Madison, 308 West 3rd Street. If you Google or Facebook the page, it'll give you my phone number, my email, all the contact information. Like I said, my business phone and personal phone are both in one. So you can messenger, text, send pictures, whatever. But I'm just about on all social media platforms as well, for the shop, showing off what I do. So yeah, no, I'm all over Twisted Metal Customs and Upholstery, or just by name. So
Awesome. Well, make sure you guys go to check them out. Thanks to my co-host Cameron Meyer. Without him, the show would not be what it is. Huge thanks to Henry Santos. We really appreciate you making time for us today.
yeah, not a problem. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Keep on the lookout for more great episodes, and we'll see you guys next week.